with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we, the people, must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy. So the big man went to the microphones in the House of Assembly today, and he gave you some reports. This is the VAT report. Is it believable? Is it unbelievable? Is it factual? What is it?
This month, Commonwealth Bank customers have more breathing room in their budgets. That's because they switched their high-interest loans to a lower rate with Commonwealth Bank. It's an easy way to pay less.
Lower payments.
Now you can breathe easier too. Get a new lower rate on your auto loan, personal loan, or credit card. Plus, enter the Switch and Win $5,000 giveaway. Oh, visit us today. Commonwealth Bank, your leader in personal banking services.
The best choice I've ever made is when I came back to the Water and Sewage Corporation. It felt like the more I shower, the more I wanted to shower. I felt like I was on top of a mountain and the pure water of the sky just flowing on your body.
The Water and Sewage Corporation is continuing its offer of 50% off sign-up services for residents in New Providence and the Family Islands. Offer valid for a limited time only. Certain restrictions apply. The Water and Sewage Corporation. Committed to growth, committed to quality.
What happened to Chloe Ann?
You mean Hans? She lose one bet with me.
What kind of bet?
I tell her that steam pressing to Charles Sanders Superwash is cripsier because the steam presser newer. She said that don't make no difference. I asked if she won't bet. She said, yeah. I say, okay, you go to Prince Charles and I'll go to Charles Sanders. Call me on my cell when you get there. Then we could put our left hand in the presser for 3 seconds. Then we could switch. I go into Prince Charles and you come over here. So she do that. I believe that steam pressing to Prince Charles hot because she did put down one piece of oil already.
Well, how about your hands?
We can get to that. So she hang up and she go on to Charles Sanders, where she called me again on my cell. This time, I tell her we could put our right hand in this time for 3 seconds. Then after all the data is in, we can make a determination.
So which one was the hottest?
I don't know.
How you mean you ain't know?
I was home.
Superwash for the hottest steam pressing anywhere.
If you are suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammer toes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations, and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
Looking for that one-stop shop where you can find everything? Hadji's is just the place. A fully stocked store that is convenient and reliable. If you're looking for automotive, electrical, lawn and garden, household, nails and screws, hardware, power tools, plumbing, and even paint supplies, stop by Hadji's on St. Albans Drive. They have a full line of groceries, personal notions, and sundry. Your one-stop shop for everything. Hadji's, number 22 St. Albans Drive. Call them at 323-4375.
The conveniently located Super Value Delis have such a delicious assortment of freshly cooked Bahamian favorites that are just perfect for lunch and even more perfect when you take them home for dinner. Favorites include baked and rotisserie chicken, steamed pork chops, grouper filet, barbecue ribs, lamb chops, beef lasagna, and more, plus all the trimmings. Let Super Value do the cooking for you. Visit the delis. Super Value, the Bahamian supermarkets.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
This sophisticated 21st century theological misconception that once you save and once you speak it and once you put it in the atmosphere, nothing could touch you. have spoken plenty things and still got touched and turned out with the victory. Not because you put something in the atmosphere means you will eliminate everything in your environment. What is important is that what you spoke come to pass. But God sometimes let what you spoke come to pass without removing the trouble in front of you and all around.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
It is Wednesday, the 29th day of the month of March, 2017. As you battle the congested city streets in drive home traffic, we have light rain on the outside in some parts of New Providence today. And of course, it's 79 right now in the capital. A low tonight of 69 across the nation. And that is what is happening right now. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We are brought to you today by Water and Sewage Corporation, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, Mount Tabor's Inspiration, Ministry of Tourism, domestic travel around the islands this time around, Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Hadji's, your everything store, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, Rocky Farms Nursery, in time for Easter. Also, Cool Tech, the Ekandu experts on Tonic Williams Darling Highway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Colina Insurance for comprehensive coverage, Super Wash open 24/7 with 11 locations, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions. Also, Super Value, the all Bahamian supermarkets, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors, Claridge and Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group for the best results in advertisements, and Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road. Call Hard Copy today. I know you want to. 325-02-3506, 325-02-4203, 325-02-5253. WhatsApp and texting 376-9234. Facebook, Hard Copy. Call us on the World Wide Web, peace1075.com. Also, get us on the cable top box 970 or go to BTC Flow and BTC Flow on the go. 613 is your dial. And of course, on TuneIn Radio, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. And follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. So, today, the Prime Minister did something that some people may say was unusual. That was that he made good on his promise to go to Parliament and have his say on value-added tax. He actually followed through on his promise, and that is good. People were looking forward to it. And the Prime Minister went to the Parliament today, and he had a lot to say about the value-added tax, this burden that has been on the backs of Bahamians for so long. And even though it's been a short time, it feels like it was forever. And the truth be told, that he gave some report that as the Minister of Finance, the substantive Minister of Finance, we ought to take that report as gospel, because he said, as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, that this is what it is. This is how the monies were spent. Now, throughout the show today, maybe we'll get a chance to compare that which Michael Alcides had said originally in his speech down to the convention center for the convention that happened in mid-February, thereabouts, and that of what the Prime Minister talked about today. We hope to have time to do it because we've got to look back at what Alcides said. But the bottom line today is the fact that Mr. Christie did, in fact, follow through on his promise. He had said that he would say something about addressing some issues in this country regarding value-added tax sometime very soon. And of course, that very soon was today. Now, that's indicative of something else, and that could mean that we are on the precipice of the dissolution of the House of Assembly, because once you see Christie, who is always late, that's his MO. The truth be told, that once he has decided now that he is speaking succinctly to value-added tax, then it means that he must be on a timetable, because obviously if he could have waited any time longer, he would have. Now, it could also be the fact that the prime minister decided to use some strategy to neutralize people who had been speaking ill of this whole process of value-added tax and what they did with the money. So he may have been trying to kind of neutralize people so that the poor remarks and the remarks that's been happening since the time that Al-Qaeda's made a poppy show of himself, he may have been trying to kind of like neutralize that, nullify that, because he wasn't gaining any good popularity from it. It looked like with every passing day, it seems as if time is going and there's nothing being said. And so today he went to the House of Assembly and decided that he was going to give a report. We're going to talk about that here but today. And I want you to be able to follow along with us. And I want your comments, your views on what you thought about it. I did not personally see the speech to myself today. But of course, I've got some little notes here that we were able to glean from that as our producers were taking a look at some things. And he said a lot of things that some people say adds up. Some people have already told me it don't add up. This is not what we had bargained for. And a lot of things people have told me that what he talked about, some of those things were already allocated in a budget, and some of these things were borrowed for. But we have to, in fact, be upfront and fair about what was reported today by the Prime Minister. And I suppose in days to come, you will be able to extrapolate from it and give your 1-2 cents on the whole matter. You know, by law, all the funds, included value-added tax, normally go to the consolidated fund, is how we have been doing it. We've been commingling the monies and mixing things up. And by law, it is not distinguishable. When you, in fact, look at the fact that everything is dropped into one kitty, some people says that, well, you're supposed to be able to give a forensic account of it and say, this is what we got from VAT for this, and so we put this here, and so forth and so on. I'm told, based upon what my producers have been looking at and those who have, in fact, been following this, that with regards to the value-added tax money, some 316 million was collected in 2015. Some 410 million was collected in 2016. So this is the 2015, 2016 monies that came in through we, the people, paying the taxes of value-added tax. $20 million was refunded over those 2 years. I suppose these are VAT paybacks that they would have looked at, according to the Prime Minister. And for those persons who in fact would have paid their value-added tax, there's that payback that sometimes you can get some monies back with different businesses and all that. And then Customs apparently collected $450 million in 2 years, 209 million in 2015, according to the notes, and 207 million in 2016. Revenue as a result of that, the elimination and decrease of taxes, amounted to $60 million. The gross collection of value-added tax, $1.1 billion. However, the net impact is said to be $756 million. The PM says he is impressed with what has happened. He says, by any measure, this is a remarkable achievement in maintaining what he calls, they've been able to maintain a stable economy. Now, of course, I know you're going to say to me, well, you know, we've been downgraded. This has happened. That has happened. We have not been growing the economy. But apparently it looks to me as if the Prime Minister and those were just keeping things stable. That's why they've been promoting this idea that at least we are stable, and you don't want to destabilize the country by voting for somebody else. So his thing about stability is that they have been stable because of the fact that he says that the monies that they collected have been able to shore up the country, keep things flowing, keep us above water, and didn't let us sink, even though the projections by the people from Standard & Poor's and later on Moody's have been talking about junk bond status, and that we have been dropped in our grading. So the examples of the first and foremost, $500 million is reportedly said to have gone to debt reduction. $500 million. Now, you know, this is what the PLP had been claiming in 4 years of administration, that they had to go and pay off that deficit that they met there when they took over from Hubert Alexander Ingram. This is where the famous quote came from, that Minnis told them that the country was ailing so bad that they handed the country to the new PLP government in a wheelchair. And so they've been capitalizing on that for the most part. And this is what they're now saying, that $500 million basically was what they used to put for the debt reduction, $500 million. Examples of where the VAT funds went. This is kind of interesting here. This way it gets interesting. And this way I know that you want to have your say about a whole lot of things. According to the Prime Minister, 99 police officers were hired. That amounted to $1.78 million. He says 166 Defense Force officers were hired in the last 2 years. And so you're looking at another $3 million. And then he says, as far as the teachers are concerned, that the government of the Bahamas for the public school system would have taken on 347 teachers. That amounts to about $8 million plus. And he promised to talk about providing additional numbers on that, but 347 teachers, $8 million plus. And then he talks about 103 doctors, and he says you're looking at about probably $2 million thereabouts, or $2 million plus. And his whole summary was that they did things with the value-added tax money that were tangible things that needed to be done in the Bahamas, and certainly these are some of the things that he gave an account of. Now, he also said that not $1 had been frittered away. In other words, they didn't waste any money from value-added tax. And so his thing is that, please understand that this is what we did as your government over the last 2 years as it results with regarding the value-added tax money. And we believe, Mr. Christie is offering, that that should be acceptable. Now, of course, there were other things that people talked about, this whole thing, and I don't mean to commingle those things that Michael Akita said with those things that the Prime Minister reported officially today in his summary, but there is some commingling of the idea of Michael Akita saying that there was $239 or $236 million that went toward the value, or that came from value-added tax, that were used to purchase the Defense Force boats. And that is something that is still not so very clear, but because people have been wondering and understanding that the $236 million was monies that were borrowed. I'm sure as we look at the report, and I haven't gotten to take a good look and extrapolate all the stuff out of this report yet, because of course this happened today, and we'll be able to give you a more comprehensive look and take a good solid look at the report and to find out where those line items really went, if in fact it could be explained. Maybe the whole gist of the matter is that the whole thing was commingled in one big lump sum, one big consolidated fund, and so they're not so sure what all they did, but they are claiming that they did a number of things with the value-added tax money that they believe is kind of a good idea to give to the Bahamian people, that they may appreciate that these are the things that happen to value-added tax. Now, of course, I see my lines are lit up already, 325-023546. We've got George Capron and Leslie Miller today. Leslie, when he comes along, may give us a more substantive report directly from the House of Assembly on this thing, but we're just looking at some of the figures that were thrown at me today when I arrived here at the station. as to what was happening with this value-added tax money. So we're going to go throughout the day looking at all of these things that are of concern to you. And it's not to be taken lightly, friends. It is not to be taken lightly because this is the people's money. The people had, in fact, paid in confidence that the government was on top of things, and it looks like a pretty tidy sum, $1.1 billion thereabouts in value-added tax money. And we're already seeing that the idea is that the Prime Minister is suggesting that when you extrapolate the payments out of that, 20 million and this and that kind of thing, that when you really look at it, you're probably looking at $756 million in clear money. And the numbers that he gave almost comes to that kind of figure. And even if you put that $236 million in it that Al-Qaeda was so gung-ho about, you may figure that this is what they did. Now, Michael Al-Qaeda at the time also said, and I'm going to find that speech for him, from him in just a minute, also said that, they use monies for the College of the Bahamas and, University of the Bahamas and those kinds of things. And so when you look at all the accumulative sums, it should add up to what they are talking about as far as using some of that money from value-added tax, all right? But we're going to talk in just a minute. This is Hard Copy, and as I said, George Capron and those will be along in a while, but the Prime Minister did report. That's the one good factual news that we are sure about, is that the Prime Minister did go to the House today, and he did give a report on value-added tax, just as he had promised. It's also indicative that elections may be very near, because if you see him, who is normally kind of like laid back on these things and would get to it in his good time, he just made that announcement last week, and this first Wednesday, he's back to the House talking about it. It means that maybe he's kind of like rushing things through now, because, time ain't long, and he's got to get these things in on a promise that he said he would do. Let's go to the lines and see what is happening here. Hard Copy, good afternoon. How are you? Hard Copy, good afternoon. How are you? Okay, I don't hear anybody there.
Oh, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir. I'm listening.
It does not add up. Tell Leslie Miller and Mr. George Capron, it does not add up.
It doesn't add up.
No, sir.
Why do you say it doesn't add up? Was there anything in particular that he said today? Because you probably got a chance to
Because
listen.
the money that they borrowed has nothing to do with the money that they took in.
Well, Wayne Monroe was here last week, and he was saying precisely that the monies that they borrowed was monies that they borrowed to do things in the government on behalf of the people. And so that money, he said to me, has got to be paid back. Now, I don't know if there's any payback that's happened yet. So I don't know if we can say the VAT money gone to these things that they borrowed money for. But we do know that eventually a lot of what they were claiming that they had put on the value-added tax tag as monies that they used from value-added tax, that certainly a lot of that would have to be paid back, is what I want to say. But yeah, you're right. Money is borrowed. Are supposed to be money is borrowed, because they would have had to go and debate those things and decide that we're going to borrow this from this one and do X, Y, and Z. Maybe the story here is that they couldn't borrow no money. I don't know. I don't want to rush to any judgment here, because you see that we were already put down to junk bond status, and maybe borrowing is not as easy for us as we believe now. Maybe we're taking for granted that they just could borrow that. Maybe they couldn't just borrow that. Maybe they borrowed it from VAT to pay some things out.
And another thing that you need to tell Mr. Miller, that we have foreigners coming in here, building houses for all about, putting them on rent, and don't have to pay duty on the material, which is not fair at all. Well, they running a business, they come out of the U.S., building these buildings, putting them on rent, and don't have to pay duty on the material. That's not right.
I got John, and I certainly would bring that up. Let me ask you something, though. So you calling me from Spanish Wells. What's happening as far as your acceptance and your believability about what the nation's chief executive told the country today with value-added tax? What is your summation? What do you believe? Did you find this all believable?
Well, what I was saying is to you, I don't think it adds up. What he's saying don't add up to the right thing. That the figures that he's giving.
I got you. All right, we'll watch and see. Thank you very much for your call. 325-023516 is how you can get us today on the telephone line. And, of course, we're listening out to what you have to say about Mr. Christie and his delivery on his promise to tell us about value-added tax. He said he was going to have a report, and he did put out a report today, and the jury is still out on that. I don't know if people have been able to digest it, dissect it, and say, but wait, if he did that, what about this? And I suppose it'll take us a couple of minutes good to take a sober look at it and to really scrutinize it properly. But in a minute, we'll turn our attention to some other matters and see how we can find the speech from Michael Okitas that, in fact, outlines some other things that happen with value-added tax. This is Hard Copy. George Capron and company standing by, so we'll get with them in just a minute after we run and pay some bills right here early on the show today. You can call us. What are your thoughts about value-added tax? Do you think that we have a good accounting, a good report from the chief man in charge of finance? I mean, Mr. Christie should know what had happened to it. I'm sure that he's listening in and want to know, do you believe him? Does it sound likely that they have an accountability on this value-added tax, that they can give a good account for it? What are your thoughts? I'm listening to you business people as well. Give me a shout. 325-0235 or 6 is how you can call me. You can also text me here today at 376-9234. Around the world, we're being heard today on the TuneIn Radio and BTC Flow 613, and around New Providence in the Bahamas, we're being heard on the Cable Top Box 970, as well as iPad, iPhone, and the Android for TuneIn Radio, and certainly on our World Wide Web at peace1075.com. This is Hard Copy. We roll along after these words.
What's wrong with water and sewage? This is the second month I haven't received my bill.
No, Grammy. Remember, you signed up for the e-notification. You don't have to worry about the paper bills.
So how do I see to pay my bill?
Your bill comes right to your email inbox and even on their new mobile app, just like Mom does.
Sign up for e-notifications. Receive your bills through email, view, print, and pay your bills online, leaving time for what matters. The Water and Sewage Corporation, committed to growth, committed to quality.
Jimmy's Wines and Spirits is getting you ready for the Easter holiday by hooking you up with a free Sands Light, or Sands Pink Radler. From now until Easter, when you buy a 6-pack of Sands Light, or Sands Pink Radler, you get one free. Make sure you head into Jimmy's Wines and Spirits, Nassau Street, Cable Beach, Shirley Street, Carmichael Road, or Wolf Road. The Easter Bunny has come early. Get the hookup at Jimmy's Wines and Spirits, Nassau locations only.
If you're suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammer toes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations, and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6, or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
It's said that variety is the spice of life. At the Vanyas Manufacturing Limited, we've got an abundance of variety that is sure to spice up your life. Bahamian hot pepper sauce, Junkanoo pepper sauce, tamarind hot sauce, guava, mango, and pineapple glaze, natural and native ingredients, beautifully bottled, labeled, and wrapped for local consumption and export. 15 years and growing strong. Nevania Spices, distributing Bahamian spices and condiments worldwide. Visit our website at www.devanyas.com or phone in your orders 601-1065. Devanyas, we add spice to your life.
I just don't believe it.
What's the matter?
I went to put money on my fixed deposit at my bank, and they ain't even offering me half or 1% interest. Now they got to be joking.
Why don't you try BOB? BOB gives you higher interest on a range of savings and deposits, including short, medium, and long-term investments.
Now, that sounds like my kind of bank.
That's why BOB is my bank.
Earn higher interest on a range of savings and fixed deposits at BOB, your bank of solutions. Some restrictions apply.
When they draw these analogies to Menace, and they say, oh, Menace is this and Menace is that, and the party is bust up and this and that. Let me tell you something. We are quite a unified bunch.
A person have to first place before they could be a leader. So what I am saying is, those few that left the party, they're already gone. So Mr. Menace ran on and do what he had to do. And so he got some good men on his show.
So here's our Right Honorable Prime Minister addressing a crowd and uses the most obscene symbol in a public place. Now, this is not somebody who's a novice or a neophyte in politics. This is somebody been around for 40 years. He knows better, but the pressure's getting to him.
Ain't no question about it.
Only Prime Minister of note, in my estimation, was Lyndon Finland. No other Prime Minister accomplished anything, in my judgment, that was of note.
Christie and his band of bandits have had the government of the Bahamas for the last 5 years. So when they come out with this plan of what they're going to do, Bahamians just don't believe them.
And accountable only means you write it down.
You pitiful. You better have some sympathy. Yeah. Cause it's the educated people running the lives of our society. Making up the blues, holding back the schools. A lot of greed, a lot of temptation. Prove one thing, we're a hell of a nation. Right on for the darkness. Right on, right on. Right on, right on.
Welcome back to Hard Copy, 325-023546. That's how you call me today because, man, you should be jumping to call. Did you get a chance to hear what the Prime Minister had to say today in the House of Assembly? And I believe if you did, you'd want to say what your thoughts were about what he had to say. Of course, he said that he's given an account of value-added tax. Now, this may have been a brief synopsis of an account. I suppose that what I gave you just now is just a kind of a piece of it. But of course, if you were to get his speech, I suppose you'll be able to extrapolate much more from what he talked about. But people are saying, this. Say, at least what he did today, he told us something. Now, the people have to go and find out if that something is a believable something. And I suppose a lot of people will look at it and scrutinize it as much as they can, and then come back with their views about, really, did he really do that? And really, is that what happened? And ask those kinds of questions. And so maybe today you'll get a chance to ask a question or two and stun us, because as far as the PM is concerned, I didn't shut them out, is what the PM, the PM may be right now feeling that, well, I didn't tell them the deal, and if they don't believe it, it's up to them. Now, let me hear what they're going to say, because I didn't tell them that this is what I did with the VAT money. And this was perhaps the postscript after Wayne Monroe was here last week to set it up. And when he set it up, he was saying, now look, this has happened, that has happened. The government, he says, have to go and pay the nurses, and they have to go and pay the policemen, and so forth and so on. And you see Prime Minister Christie coming right back today and saying, look, the policemen that we hired, they got such and such amount of money. In fact, he said when we hired the policemen, he says those policemen were able to make some monies and change because as far as the PM is concerned, they paid out a lot of money. And let me see what he said here. He talked about the gross collection of value-added tax being $1.1 billion. He said, however, the net impact is $756 million. So that's what we're working with. And he says, by any measure, he and his government has done an excellent job in making sure that value-added tax is fully accounted for. He says examples of where the money is gone. He says where the funds went. That was his language today. But of course, when Peters was there, he said, that's where the VAT money gone. So if the PM was to use the script from Michael Akitas, he'd say, you want to know where the VAT money gone? Here's where the VAT money gone. 99 police officers hired. That's a total of $1.78 billion. 166 Defense Force officers hired. That's a total of nearly $3 million. He says, in addition to that, he talked about some 100, he says, Defense Force officers, 166. He says, the teachers, he says, man, we paid these teachers handsomely. $8 million plus for 347 teachers. He says, the doctors who must take care of the health of the nation, he says, we had 103 doctors and they got like $2 million plus. And so this is, if you see what I'm saying, he's tilting it to what it touched people. That's what he's trying to say. See, we took care of people. They were paid salaries, and these are very hefty salaries, and this is where the VAT money gone. And so George Capron is here with me today. I'm joined by him and Leslie Miller soon to come, I suppose. And we'll talk about some of these things because the PM also went to great lengths to make sure that you, the Bahamian people, know that he had $500 million in deficit. This is a budget deficit from when they first took over from the Free National Movement. He says they paid that too. And so all of this came from the VAT money, or as we say, the WAT money. Anyway, hard copy, how are you?
How you doing, Steve? C. Allen Johnson.
C. Allen, I'm listening to you.
Yes, Steve, that was an excellent taste of marketing at its best.
Yep.
Yes, and let me explain to you. Let's first deal with what you just last said concerning the deficit. It's impossible for the Prime Minister to tell us in the first instance in 2012 how they borrowed to cover the deficit, and then continuously run deficits for four additional years, referring to the first year deficit. I mean, how many times are he going to keep paying this one deficit that he said he has? When you consider all things equal, let's take into the fact that from 2008 to 2012, we went through downgrade. I mean, through a global economic downturn.
Yeah.
The economy began to grow, and you would have to assume that if the economy continues growing, so should our economy, considering even the 35,000 jobs that he said that he added to the
32,000, yeah.
32,000. So when you add that 32,000, it has to reflect a certain growth in the economy that has happened, which
should be, yeah.
is in conflict with him maintaining these negative growth and having to continuously borrow this $500 million a year. Now, let's take for instance, and I know the conversation concerning where does the money go. I had an opportunity to listen to the junior minister of finance from the last administration explain the economics of how government accounts are run. And the way government accounts are run, based on what he said, first-hand knowledge, is that every single government account, whether they have 5, 10, 50 and checking accounts, are all considered a consolidation fund. And so when you take monies from, like you married, you put your money in the checking account and you put her money in the savings account, that is considered the household account, even though it's two separate accounts.
Right.
And so it still allows
demarcation of different things for different situations.
Right. And so the question you have to ask yourself, and all things being considered from 2012 to now, with this growth of economy that the government has promoted, then something is wrong, because that would mean that this VAT should have been added to the so-called taxes that was gained from this growth in the economy. So that would mean somewhere $1 billion is still missing somewhere in the economy.
Well, the prime minister says not $1, a single dollar was
No,
frittered,
but
was
in the
frittered away.
economy, if you have this so-called new $1 billion, and if all things are considered before the VAT, and I understand what he say reduction, whatever. So this reduction is $1 billion net 750,000. Not the fact that you claim you have a reduction where I'm bringing a car for 60% or 80%, you reduce it, then you charge me duty plus VAT and charge me VAT on top of that. So basically, what you claim is minimal. You know, it's gymnastic accounting. But when you say that this growth occur, that means your revenue should not have been reduced. So this VAT money, even if you say this is 1.2 billion, lose 300 net, this $700 million should have been new money. So if this is brand new money atop what has continued across the last 4 years, then why did you still borrow another $500 million?
Yeah, that's the question that people are now asking for real.
You know, and so for me, you still have not explained to me exactly where it went. What you have done is given me generic things, like we got 99 more police officers, 160 post officers, 300 more teachers, 103 more professionals in health and interest. And, you know, so the question is that for every dime in the country, it's 100% accountable. And a proper breakdown of this would be not a generic statement. It will be, we have collected this much money, and it went into these accounts, and from these accounts we paid light, phone, water, this, whatever else, and this is where the VAT money. And when we took it out, like you say, when I took the money out of my wife's account, I took 100, I put on the light, I put 40 on this, I put 40 on this, I put 40, you know, whatever on this. Then what you do is you do me a comparison. You cannot maintain this economic model of jobs, etc., at the same time claiming that this VAT money was almost this additional revenue account for. Doesn't balance. It doesn't balance itself out.
So as far as you're concerned, this is unacceptable. This is...
It's an excellent marketing thing. Yes,
marketing.
He could be 100% correct. This is where the VAT money went.
Right.
He needs to explain to me where that extra $1 billion went. Okay? Where this whole from this economic growth that you have. So in essence, if you look at what he said, and if we have a $2.2 billion budget and $800 million disappear, that would mean that we have a shrinkage of the economy as almost as much as 50%. And so it creates a conflict in where we are compared to 2012 to now, and where you're saying based on the numbers. And so what it does, it just basically, it provides for intellectual stimulation. I call this an exercise in intellectual masturbation.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and we're going to watch it as we try to look at all that the Prime Minister said today and see if we can come to terms with.
I'll make sure I send you over the exactly 43 minutes and 40 seconds of conversation.
I appreciate it. Thank you kindly. All right. Okay. So where did the VAT money go? According to the Prime Minister, he can account for it. And the Bahamian public seems to be a little quiet on it today. And so I'm wondering if, in fact, he's been convincing. Hard Copy, how you doing? Hard Copy, how are you? Okay. Call us back at 325-0235 or 325-0242 or 43, 325-0252 or 53. I believe there's a whole lot more that needs to be said on value-added tax. And I believe that a lot of people are going to be demanding that. Now, of course, the Prime Minister is on a game now. His whole thing is that, look, I've laid out some things for you, you know, is what you believe, but I'm telling you, I have the forensic accounting. This is what happened, and you ought to be satisfied with that. Now, let's see if the Bahamian people will be satisfied with that. I believe, really, they've not gotten a chance to let it sink in, not yet. And so they're not been able to really say this is what they think. Now, of course, critical think is of a different stock altogether, because he is asking some very, very pertinent questions now that there seem to still be $1 billion or so not really accounted for. And based on what the Prime Minister says, he's pretty much satisfied, the PM that is, pretty much satisfied that he has done a good thing. Now, I'm going to take some more calls in a minute and involve our guests in the conversation. But here's what Michael Alcides had to say back in, this must have been what, 24th of January, okay? And he was talking about the whole idea of value-added tax. He says, in order to ease the burden of the new system, this is how he starts out after talking about a lot of things that the government was relying too heavily. He explained on customs duty and on stamp tax as its principal revenue source. And he says that as a result of that, they had to do some other things. A tax regime that failed. He believed that stamp duty and customs duty was a tax regime that failed to capture the service component of the economy. He said about 2/3 of the Bahamas economy is built on service. Value-added tax captured the economic activity that went untaxed for many years, he said, and continued inaction to continue this inaction was not an option. And he went on to talk about, in order to ease the burden of the new system, he says, we, the PLP, introduced a VAT at one of the lowest rates in the world. This was supposed to be 15%. It came down to 7.5. He says, we lowered customs duties, 100, on hundreds of items, eliminating hundreds of millions of dollars in customs revenue. He says in 2015, we increased the minimum wage. He says we also increased social services assistance, empowerment for Consumer Protection Commission. So these are some things that he was kind of giving a prelude to value-added tax and what they were spending. He says the result of our reform, this is Alcides back at the PLP convention, the results of our reform program were extraordinary. We had significantly reduced the annual deficit by 80%, from over $500 million to around $100 million before the devastation dealt to the economy by Hurricane Joaquin and Hurricane Matthew. Now that's key right there, because you see, he is claiming that the deficit was reduced by 80%, the good job that they had done from they first got in office. He says it was reduced by 80% from 500 million to around 100 million, but he says right on the backside of that, but you see, the hurricanes came. You see, that is what people may have missed on that particular score. He says, we view this as a temporary setback, these hurricanes, and expect to resume the positive trends as we have moved into this year and the economy begins to experience stronger growth. Now, remember, this is around January. So he's saying around January, the economy is now experiencing stronger growth. He says, as a result of our reform program, and despite the stubbornly difficult global environment, we have been able to get our finances on a good footing, while at the same time doubling the investment. These are some things now. Doubling the investment in scholarship from 7.73 million to 16.3 million. This empowers young Bahamians, he told the crowd that night. He says, so when you start this thing about where the VAT money gone, he says, this is where the VAT money gone. We went from $7.73 million to $16.3 million to empower young Bahamians. And that's called doubling the investment on scholarships. He says, where did the VAT money go? He says, provided the financial resources, this is what they did, to transition from the College of the Bahamas to the University of the Bahamas, as well as well over $12 million. So he says it's another $12 million that they used to make sure that they were able to, make sure that COB became a university, UB. And this is what they did. He says that's where the VAT money gone. He also says we are now building new schools. Of course, the Prime Minister has been accused of not building a single school in this particular term. But he says we are also building new schools and have invested tens of millions of dollars in repairs and upgrades of existing schools. He says, thus empowering our young people. So that's where the VAT money gone. That's what he said. Then he says, we provided the money in excess of $150 million to introduce comprehensive national health insurance in short order for all people, but especially those in most need who cannot afford private insurance. He says, we have empowered our people at the tune of more than $150 million. And so that's where the VAT money gone. These are all things from the VAT money, I suppose. He also talked about, in preparation for national health insurance, that the government of the PLP spent tens of millions of dollars on a new critical care block, a new hospital in Exuma, upgrades to health clinics and at PMH, in addition to a new ambulance fleet. He says, you're wondering where the VAT money gone. He says, that's where the VAT money gone. So I'm giving you some of the caveats of what Michael said, because the Prime Minister didn't use some of those caveats to say, this is what we spent on the ambulance, this is what we, you see what I'm saying? So I'm giving you a nutshell of what he said back then, the Minister of State. And this was approved by the Minister of Financial, the substantive Minister of Finance, who's Mr. Prime Minister Perry Christie. So Michael Akitas went on that night. He says, you want to know where the VAT money gone? He says, we facilitated a new fleet of aircraft for Bahamas Air at a cost of $100 million. A modern, safe, efficient fleet reduces state subsidies and improves public safety. He says, so that's where the VAT money gone. He says, this builds the modern Bahamas. He says, so if you want to know, add another 100 million as to where the VAT money gone. And then he says, where the VAT money gone? He says, the government also spent tens of millions of dollars on roads, docks, seawalls on the islands like Andros and Exuma and Maguana and Abaco and Grand Bahama and Cat Island. He has Cat Island here twice, so I don't know if he meant to say Cat Island and something else, but he says Cat Island and Cat Island on the script. He says, so that's where the VAT money gone. He says, you want to know where the VAT money gone? He says, we invested in a new fleet. Everybody told you about this? He says, we invested in a new fleet of Royal Bahamas Defense Force boats at a cost of some $232 million to protect our borders and marine resources. He says, our fishermen are empowered, including my first caller from down in Spanish Well. He says, you are empowered now because we spend $232 million on Defense Force vessels. He says, and we know that you all had the best fishing season in many years, is what he said. He says, so there's no complaints. He said, but that's where the VAT money gone. So people have said, but I thought we borrowed. And maybe our terminology of borrowed doesn't compute with their terminology. But that doesn't compute with their terminology of borrowing, because Bahamian people have always known that once you borrow some money, you've got to go somewhere to borrow the money. So I'm suggesting now that maybe they borrowed the money from VAT. Because if he's saying that's where the VAT money gone, this VAT money we talking about. You see the point? But what do I know? They also said that the PLP provided tens of millions of dollars to hire additional doctors. Now, he says tens of millions of dollars. The Prime Minister, I think, said they spent. Yeah, the PLP, the government, not the PLP. No, I'm saying he was saying this at the PLP rally, George. Okay, and the PM talked about doctors that they spent $2 million. He says for the doctors we spent, for 103 doctors we spent $2 million. Well, he did say plus, but Alquita says here we spent tens of millions of dollars to hire the additional doctors, teachers, Defense Force officers, immigration officers, police, prison, customs officers, and he says that's where the VAT money gone. He also says the VAT money gone because after Hurricanes Walken and Matthew, he says the government of the Bahamas continued to rebuild the affected areas and islands and assisted our people who suffered material losses at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. You see, he wasn't giving any figures, but he was giving you an idea that they spend so much money, you got to understand that this is what they did with the money, and that's where the VAT money gone. And those are some of the things that he had mentioned as to what had happened. Now, the Prime Minister comes back today and he mentions those things that he thought were the substantial lot as to why he can an account for $1.1 billion. And he believes that he has done his job on that. And I promise you that I would compare what Alcides was saying, just to give you the background, and just to see if Michael Alcides is on page with what he is saying and his numbering, his figuring, the kind of calculations that he says. And the PM's numbers are way below a lot of what he is talking about. So maybe Alcides didn't know exactly what he was talking about, but now today, the substantive Minister of Finance is saying to us, here's what we did, and do you accept it? Let me take some calls before I introduce Leslie Miller and George Capron. How are you? Good afternoon, hard copy.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And good afternoon to your guests.
Yes.
I can make this plain and simple, and I hope the Prime Minister is listening. Okay? He can run on with all he wants. People are sick and tired of hearing his voice. Okay? Nobody is listening to him. I had a little bit of respect for Mr. Alcides when he got up on that stage at the so-called coal or yellow rush or whatever they call it. I lost all respect for him when the rubbish that came out of his mouth. We as business people, when we sat to the table, because they couldn't come about this flat without us, they told us plain and blatantly, we will put the money on the deck. Okay?
They did not only say that. And you all know better than that. Y'all have to stop twisting what people say, man. It's not fair.
Let me let him finish, and then we'll get to this.
Leslie.
Go ahead, sir.
Leslie.
I'm right here. I ain't going nowhere.
Like you, Portgate.
I'm right here.
Finish.
Yes.
Okay? You was a businessman too. You
Yes.
know what we
Been
can
one
do.
for 38 years.
You was a businessman too.
38 years.
Okay? And I can tell you one thing. We tired. The people are sick and tired. And until you all get that through your head, then you all can know.
We'll find out 6 o'clock when the polls close.
Speak the truth.
We will find out 6 o'clock
So
when the
let me
polls
ask you
close.
something, sir. Do you accept what you would have heard today in the House of
No,
Assembly?
I do not accept that, Steve. Okay? They can go on with their figures or whatever. I do not accept that.
The figures are there from the Ministry of Finance.
You can put anything on paper. Okay? I don't know.
I guess that's what Ingram used to do then. The former government did the same thing too then, lied to the Bayman people.
But
That's
no
what you're
former
saying.
government getting
The former
involved in
government
it.
doing the same thing then.
What's still on this Ingram, right?
No, but I said all governments are the same. Governments are continuous.
G. Christie and
Governments
Alcides
are
were charged
continuous.
already out.
I said governments are continuous.
Yes, government are
All right, so you're
continuous,
saying that
so why
Ingram
you
did the
all
same thing then? Mr. Ingram did the same thing.
Hold on a second, Mr. Miller. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much.
That's a lady, man. You keep
Big Portgate, I can run on just like you.
No, I ain't running hot. I being cool, man. Portcakes don't run hot.
Everything's
Let me
just
run hot
cool,
be
but I'm
right.
just saying, I am not accepting what the Prime Minister said.
That's
I
your
didn't
opinion.
accept what Mr. Alcides said, and we want to know where our black money is. Plain and simple. Have a good day.
Is right
I
here
appreciate
today.
it. That's a
See, but
gentleman.
listen, many
It's
people
not
get
a
up this
lady.
one thing, man. For Christ's sake, I so tired again, but it's so simple.
When I can do what?
When the people can get up this, the funds are there. The PM today, right here in this document, written by the Ministry of Finance. All the facts and figures are right here for any common man or woman to see.
This is now made available as a report today from the Prime Minister. This is made now available by the Ministry of
Finance.
So anybody could go.
communication.
Anybody could go and get that now. And
Yes, sir.
They have to get that from the Hansard, or they
No,
can
it's
go.
right here.
No, I'm saying if they have to
it's
go
in
to
this
the
format.
office of Prime Minister.
No, you can go right to the House of Assembly. They have some there.
Mhm.
And you go to the Ministry of Finance. They have it there.
So what was the biggest thing that impressed you with the whole accounting of the value-added tax, since the Prime Minister said Alcides' report obviously wasn't acceptable? Hold on a second, Les.
I'm listening to him.
Alcides' report obviously wasn't acceptable
The PM
because if
didn't
it
say that.
was, no, he didn't say that. I'm saying that because if it was, the PM would have no need to go back to the people at the Parliament and say, "Let me give you a report." Why would he have done that?
He is not doing this because of, listen, first of all, Michael Alcides was in a political situation there at a
convention.
All right.
So what
He
do you mean
slipped
by
up
that?
he slipped up on some of the things he said because what he really meant, and I think all of us knew what he meant, but these spins, man. Mike said that we bought new planes, we bought new boats.
Yeah.
What he was actually saying that any sensible person who run a business would know.
Hmm.
Therefore, we got to pay back the loans. We got loans, the VAT money coming in, and the VAT money got to help to pay those loans that we got.
But he didn't clearly state that, did he?
But all of us know that's what he meant. Those of us
well,
who-
listen,
who-
you make it argue that, but the truth be told, Leslie, it was not articulated that is what he said. And so people are holding account on what they said, what they reported. The prime minister didn't extrapolate from that that's what he meant. Or he could have said from a long time ago, that's what he means. So just understand that we have to pay some money back.
I understand.
He came today and gave a report, comprehensive report, I take it.
Yes.
I've not seen the full report, but he gave a comprehensive report as to, for an accounting purposes, because he has been catching hell from people saying, where does that money gone? It's been a monkey on the back.
Because it's amazing to me, when the FNM was the government, Mr. Ingram made it clear on his departure that had they won, they had to bring in VAT. What wasn't bought in?
I don't think
the
anybody is
Progressive Party
questioning that.
wanted VAT to be coming in.
I don't think that
The
anybody's questioning
IMF
that.
and the other international agencies
I don't
say
think anybody's questioning that.
you must bring it in to enable the government to
Leslie
collect
Miller,
sufficient funds to defray its
People
expenses.
ain't making noise with that. The people understand that.
Okay,
The
so I don't understand.
The International Monetary Fund, the IDB,
Yes.
all of them spoke to this whole
Yes.
thing about VAT.
Yes.
What we did is we tried to get it to a comfortable position so that we can get passed.
Yes.
And the comfortable position was to compromise from 15% to 7.5%.
7.5%, yes.
So, I mean, that goes without saying. The people understood that. That's why they accepted it. That's why they pay it.
Fine.
But at the end of the day, I'm asking you now, what do you gain from the fact that the prime minister, your leader, our leader, has been able to go to the parliament today to say, because of their handling of the money, this is what we did. Some people find it acceptable. Some people are still out to lunch on
Some
it. Not
people
so
always
sure.
going to be able to, because some
Yeah,
people has a vested
but
interest
we have to
in spinning things.
we have to be
And it's most unfair.
we
The
have to
average
be
payment.
absolutely clear. Leslie, with the greatest respect to you, and I do, the fact of the matter is that there has to be succinct, clarity on
Yes.
this matter.
But
Because
Steve,
until there is, you will always have people saying, well, I ain't sure what you're talking about. I
Steve,
can't
but
understand
Steve,
what you're saying.
you and I know
Hmm.
the merchant class in this country, the real estates, the lawyers and those, the accounting firms,
Hmm.
Rupert Roberts and those with the food stores, the bulk of the VAT money comes out of the same coffers as they always came out of. There's nothing new that transpired, Mr. Christie said today in his representation, 1.4 billion was collected in respect of the VAT in 2015 and 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Of this total, the Department of Inland Revenue collected 726 million,
Mm-hmm.
316 million in 2015 and 410 million in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
The department also refunded 20 million.
Yes.
Then he goes on and say, now
I've
this
already
is
said
what-
all that. Mhm.
This is what took place that also caused a reduction in the revenue. Because
Mhm.
don't forget, you put VAT on one side, on the other side, you took down custom duties.
Mhm.
Okay, and hopefully that would have leveled out. But if leveled out to the country's advantage, that we collected so much for VAT, that VAT offset any depreciable losses
Mhm.
that it would have accrued had the government not bring in VAT. Because you can't just omit customs duty and believe that you could collect the same amount of revenue that you did before. It just ain't gonna happen. And it says right here, he says on this, the maximum duty on motor vehicles was reduced from 85% to 65%. That's a 20% reduction that Bahamians paid on most of their vehicles, those on the high end. Okay? The custom duty was reduced. The elimination of import duties on several items was done last year. Okay? Duty exemption under Family Island Development and Encouragement Act was extended for another year. Okay? All of these things took place. A reduction in the top property taxes was done. Duty concessions under the city of Nassau revitalization was done. For Grand Bahama was done. You had a 10% discount for persons who pay real property tax, which most people didn't pay anyhow. The reduction in the maximum rate of business license fees from 1.75 to 1.5%. Okay, I mean, all of these things came into effect. But in addition to that, the highlights of the revenue foregone as a result of these tax relief measures, he said as follows: customs duty and exemptions and excise duty for 2015 and 2016, 86 million was given back, was reduced.
Was reduced.
Customs and excise duty 2016, 48.9 million. Changes to free on-board customs, excise duty for 2016, 60 million. VAT on conveyance under 100,000, 7 million. Real property tax rate, 0.7 million. Okay? The residential was 500,000 Commercial was 2.5
So
million.
all the monies collected with value-added tax was supposed to offset these
Yes, sir.
these reductions in the actual revenue
stream of the government.
right? Which
Okay.
in which a lot of them came through
Business
customs
license.
duty.
Business license was reduced by 38.2 million.
Mhm.
Business license alone. So people like Super Value now made a hefty profit from that. Real property tax waiver was 14 million. Real property tax amnesty was just 200,000. Really, that's not to talk about. Okay, but in all, and then including the fiscal impact of the elimination of the hotel occupancy tax, that was 85 million, and the tax refund was 20 million. So people have to appreciate that people have a lot of problems, or people don't understand this what, or they want to know where the money went from what. When I traveled through Europe as the Minister of Trade and Industry back in 2002, from 2002 to 2007, every country in Europe has what. And the best place to look at what is really Puerto Rico, which most Bahamians know. It's right in the Caribbean. I'm not too far from our shores. What is there? But everybody know what happened to the what. It went into one single coffers, and it came out. So what the ministry did, the Ministry of Finance, break it down now. That I was going to see exactly what was collected, the 1.1 billion. It totals out what was expended, what I got in, what I spent, and this is what the difference is. That's all that took place. But I mean, it's amazing to me, all the fuss. Where did the what money go? It went to defray the expenses of the government with providing services for the people of our country and goods. Look at the hospital alone. How much sick Bahamians in the hospital? I go up there often. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent to take care of those people. And more people get sick, the budget for health goes up.
Would it not have been
And don't forget now, education
advantageous?
at the University of Bahamas now is amazing, Every Bahamian in this country that could maintain a B average at the University of Bahamas does not pay one single penny. I have several of them from my constituency. Not one penny you would pay, madam. If you could be smart enough, just do your work and go to your Bahamas. You got a B average, you wouldn't pay one penny for 4 years. I mean, that's a lot of money that is not being collected that the government has spent on education. That's why they say we double the amount of money expended for education. Not a penny you pay. Now, what university you can go to in the world? The government say you maintain a B average, you're a Bahamian student, you get a full scholarship. The United States doesn't do that. Canada doesn't do that. The UK doesn't do that. Nobody in the Caribbean does it. And the Bahamas does it.
Hooray.
A young lady like you maintain a B average, you got a full scholarship, and you can become whatever you want to become.
Okay, so let me get back to this whole thing, and let me get some calls in on the line. George Capron, how you doing, sir?
I'm with you.
You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you both.
How you been?
Up and down.
In and out?
Sometimes.
I see you look like you were sleeping while Leslie was talking about what they did with the bad money.
No, I'm listening because I didn't go to House of Assembly. I don't know what transpired.
Yeah.
And so
a couple of days we'll get it all
and
sorted
so
out.
it'd be useless of me and stupid to go making asinine comments, and I have no full grasp of what has happened.
I understand. All right. So Leslie seems to be in the bull run today, but we'll see. But because the Bahamian people are also listening and want to know about some things that Mr. Miller has looked at Prime Minister Christie's speech and is trying to come to terms with what it is that he's seeing there and how he can make sure that the public understands that Christie has been talking sense all day long and that that they're looking good and they've explained this thing. Let's go to the callers on the telephone line, though, and see what they're saying. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Peace and love, all is well.
Yeah, reconciling. Good evening to your guests.
Good afternoon.
McKinney, before I get to the watch situation, I went last night to get my voters card stamped, the parliamentary registration stamp. Now it's
Oh, so you got your card stamped finally. You feel better now.
And a lot of people was there still. It was after 8 tonight last night, and I got off from work. Right there. And
A lot of people were there?
a lot of people was there, at the parliamentary registration.
How long did it take you to get served?
Gladstone Road too.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Did it take you long to get served?
No, because they were waiting, I guess, to register the vote.
Oh, I see. You just went to pick up.
And Cole, if you could give me 1 second to add, I was especially to Steve and the other Bahamian audience. A lady, I took her to register today at the mall at Marathon. This was around about 2:30, Steve. The lady got there to go register because she went on to to the parliamentary where I was today, getting people registered. She went to get registered. Woman say, I've reached my quota for the day.
That's
Come
what the
back
woman
at 5:30. She reached her quota for the day. I went to show her, I say, when is this going to stop? I say, you ain't get tired of being criticized by
everybody.
By Steve McKinney every Wednesday. You all still don't see. He said, Leslie, I said to see the woman right here. They told her they reached their quota and
day.
come back at 5:30 because she ain't serving nobody else.
Let's see, Mr. Miller, and I went there.
And they ain't gonna stop.
One of the ladies was there. She was an elderly lady, I guess, older government waker. Look at it, right? Now you didn't need. She said, "Oh, see it there." Now you didn't need a telescope, but can look in space and see from the space center to see what you're talking about. Because I ain't seen nothing yet, and all the other people looking, they ain't seen nothing.
Oh, she say you had the stamp on your thing, eh?
But it ain't that clear. But like I said, you didn't need a telescope to look in space to see that, and it wasn't there.
If you feel it, you're supposed to feel the rings.
Small feet of rays.
You see that they put around there's raised letterings. You should be able
to come here and waste time.
Yeah.
And Mr. I called Mr. Hall
But
yesterday.
they bought the
They
cheapest
told him my
stamps.
situation. He said I could come and get his stamp, and that's what I did, and I got his stamp. Now I'm satisfied.
Right.
He's satisfied that his stamp in the place where the photo is, and it's just like it was before on All Matter with his card.
You wanted the same thing.
Now the one situation, I listened to a bit of it today, and I am not really convinced about the now the Prime Minister was. I give it to him. He was more convincing than Mr. Alcides.
Y'all don't give me a break, boy. I tell you.
But it was still very ambiguous to me. So I want
A forensic accounting.
with a a forensic situation, but they go through that with a fine-tooth comb and ready to tell it more. Because if you say you borrowed money for the boats or whatever you borrowed for, and you got that money from the IDB or wherever you got it from, the IMF, that money was borrowed to do that. And then you said, well, the WAT money going into the consolidated fund and the WAT money here, but all of that. Now, I have a problem with that. That's like mixing apples and oranges. And I still don't see now.
All the government revenues goes into one coffers. It's been going in from the time this government.
Listen, Mr. Miller, just let me finish this.
Yes.
What is $1 billion? $1 billion is 1,000 million.
Okay.
1,000 million. That's what $1 billion is.
All right.
Now the national debt, that's $7,000 million, which is $7 billion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got all this. Now the national debt being growing. You got $1,000+ for what? You got 1,000 you borrowed to do other things you said you did, and then you're still saying the WAT money went to do this. So I see that you crunching the figures, and figures don't lie. You got to come clean. If the WAT money went to where it really should be, or the fiscal, you was doing good fiscal responsibility with economy, we would not have been at $7 billion. We'd have been much less than that, and we would have seen improvement. We would not have been downgraded.
Tremendous improvements.
Hey.
We got downgraded because of Bahama. That's why the Bahamas get downgraded, because of the closure of Bahama.
More information from qualified people in finance to let me really know where the WAT money gone. Prime Minister, I can't kill him for trying. He tried.
Are you saying that the people at the Ministry of Finance are unqualified? That's what you said? Are you saying that's what you said? You said qualified people.
You
said qualified.
When you present something, you must look at it, and other person must present their facts, and then you must come and reach and meet each other in the middle and come to a final agreement of what it really is. That's all I'm saying.
No government runs.
I'm not saying anything against the Minister of Finance. So don't try to put weight in my mouth. You ain't qualified to do that. Have a good day,
Don't put anything in your mouth for. Get real. Talking foolishness.
Let's take some other calls on the line. We laugh at it. Some people believe that it can be easily explained, but if it's easily explained, just explain it so it could be easily accepted.
That's why the PM did what he did today.
Yeah, well,
bring it down in layman's terms.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If it is easily explained, explain it so they can be easily understood.
And that's what he.
And if that's what the PM did today, it also
but the
shows.
naysayers don't stop, man.
No, it also shows that obviously Michael Akitas did not do a good job of it.
I accept that.
And
I
no,
accept that.
not only that, except this then, that not only did Michael Akitas not do the best job of it to make sure it was never an issue, but also the Prime Minister is now just coming to the fore to deal with the matter, and he realizes that, boy, this ain't really work. The people ain't understanding this thing. The people don't accept it. I better go. I better go. I better
know the people.
I better go.
It's the few.
No, it's not the few.
They didn't know the people.
No. I better go and make sure that I can at least say what I believe has happened to it, so that we can bring clarity there. That's what the Prime Minister sought to do.
He said he was going to do it, and now he hasn't done.
Well, I gave him credit for that. That's the first thing I said. That whatever you say,
some behemoths mad as hell if you wake up in the morning. They be called the
that's irrelevant.
Wake up again.
That's irrelevant.
They mad.
No, people.
I wake up in the morning too.
Hard copy. How are you?
Decide my destiny.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Very good, thanks.
All right. Let me engage you for a few minutes. I am very displeased with the guys what's going on, particularly right in your studio now. Mr. Miller, with the greatest respect, sir, that's not much left anyhow.
Yeah,
but you have this tendency.
Well, that's what you say, but I tell you what, I can be back in the new parliament. You put out your pipe and smoke it.
People speak, and you're not allowing them to finish. That's something you need to learn to do.
You said something to me, and I answered
I think that's something you need to learn to do. Anyhow, continuing on, Steve. It is obviously that what I always said is that the PLP is a deceptive organization. Everything they put forward is always to deceive the people. Let me tell you why I say that. We all know that what they're putting forward is a whole bunch of hogwash.
Yeah, okay.
Tell you the reason for that is because the people, they fail to realize that the people of the day, the electorate today, is not what Mike Grabby them used to be. You could tell them all anything and they accept it.
That's true.
They're a different electorate today. The people want accountability. We ain't only just asking for the VAT money and where the VAT money go and all the rest of it, What Mr. Miller them and the PLP them keep missing is the electorate today is saying, look, okay, that's how y'all used to run the system. Change it. This is how we want it now. We want the accounts of the country to be separated.
Who's we?
On Chicago Line show, Chicago Line said, and this is the first time I realized it, the consolidated fund is a concept, it's a figurative concept. But he said that the Bahamas government have 3 or 4 different banks in which they deal with their monies. So the people are saying, look, if you collected such large revenue in VAT money, if you collected such large revenue in customs duty and so forth and the rest of it, separate them. The people want to know.
So why didn't Chicago Line separate him? When he was there, why he didn't separate him?
This is being done. So this is a different electorate.
He was there for 10 years. Why he didn't separate him then?
And now he was also talking about.
He was there for 10 years.
Go ahead, sir.
Why didn't Chicago Line separate him?
Sir, go ahead.
Why didn't Chicago Line separate them when he was there for 10 years?
No, he didn't say that he separated them. He said that's the way the system is.
What he separated?
The Bahamas government has an account in Royal Bank, which is the majority of the consolidated fund.
Yes.
He also said that there's some in Bank of the Bahamas, and there was another account that he talked about. He also talked about the legal framework in terms of where these things can be changed. Mr. Millennium and the PLP is missing it. The people them want it separate. This is a different generation.
Brother, please.
The people them want it separate, and you need to separate. That's what you miss. That's what y'all are missing.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all are not doing what the people ask, and that is your failure. That is the PLP failure. The people say, we don't want gambling, y'all going and y'all do it.
Yeah.
People say, we don't want this, y'all going and y'all do it.
And we getting over $30 million a year in revenue from it. Over $30 million a year in revenue from legal gambling. The fellas on Paradise Island gambling, you don't have a problem with that, though.
So we've already collected $30 million.
Over $30 million.
No. We've already collected over $30 million.
Yes, sir, from them. Over
When?
$30 million.
Now, other people are coming
For the last fiscal year.
Why can't Miss Behemoth gamble? That's a whole dead issue now. Y'all already do what y'all have to do. But I'm going to show you, because y'all are not listening to people, the people of this country lost respect for y'all.
See, if you only got one vote, you know.
Y'all, including the Prime Minister, and that is the reason why you will see a difference.
I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you kindly. And I suppose a lot of people will be sounding off on a whole lot of this thing.
That's the same group, man. They call every time. They call every station with the same
Nobody.
Please.
Nobody.
I'm in my area every single day, and they don't represent the people that I represent.
Leslie, you have to let me talk. I'm the host of the
sorry.
show. Thank you very much. All right. You can't just be running on and rowing people. Listen to what the people are saying. They saying something. These are the same people who you're gonna.
I have a responsibility.
These are the same people, and you'll get your chance to answer, Mr. Miller. You always do. These are the same people who everybody is going to saying that they want their vote. They have a right to speak on these shows, especially on my show.
Yes.
And so whether you agree with them or not, and sometimes you may agree with them, sometimes you decide that you're not going to agree with them. Hear what they're saying so that we can see, we can make sense of what they're talking about. They're trying to say something to you and to the prime minister. And the prime minister took long to listen. And that's why he just gone to the parliament today. If he had been listening, he would have said this and nipped this in the bud the day after Al-Qaeda's did his thing down at that convention. That was in January. This is now March, the end of March, 2 full months. You need to listen. That's what I'm saying. And so I want to see if I can find out collectively from the public what their thoughts were about what the PM said. Now, maybe today it's too early because really a lot of them have not been able to dissect this yet and to, really weigh in on it properly to see what the man is saying.
So
but the prime minister, has made some good points, which I have already indicated on this show, some very good points about what they did. This is his accounting of what they did. And that is all that we can say, that he has given an account. And so people are now weighing in on what they have to say about him giving an account. And so that's what it is. Hard Copy, how are you? Hard Copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve.
Yes, sir.
And good afternoon to your guests in studio.
Yes.
Steve, what is demonstrating here, and I'm sitting here with great amazement because Leslie Miller is one of the gentlemen that I really admire in the PLP party. His problem is, and like you said to him just now, Leslie, you need to just calm down. Let these people have their say. Let me say this much to you. The talk is on the ground. No matter how much you talk, the talk is on the ground. There are going to be people who is not feeling what is being presented here. The figures, as I heard a lot of people say a little while ago, to them does not add up. And I'm going to tell you, if you keep on with this ranting and raving against the people because you don't agree with what they're saying, it's you causing another divide. I'm going to tell you, I talked to a lot of PLPs, FNM, DNA's independents, and I'm going to tell you, there are also people in the PLP party that is turned off by what is being presented here. I just spoke to a few of them no longer than over lunch. You need to take the time and listen to the people. The people is going to determine this election. And if you don't, you're going to find out, you may win tall pines, mind you, but this PLP government may not get back in because you guys just don't listen. And that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, well.
If someone is making a statement, and I know the statement is totally erroneous, I have an obligation to correct that man.
Yeah, you can correct
I have an obligation.
Yeah.
I'm a member of Parliament. I was elected by the people.
When the fella finished talking, you could correct it.
Right.
And he just said something just now, you could correct it. Hard Copy, how are you?
Steve, how you doing?
Very good, thanks.
All right, I just hope that Mr. Miller will allow me to correct him because he made a erroneous remark earlier. He said that Chivago-Lang was there for 10 years. I mean, first of all, that's wrong. Chivago-Lang was not the Minister of State for Finance of 10 years. He might have been an MP.
Yes.
10 years in two separate sittings.
10 non-consecutive years.
2002 and then 2007 and 2012. But he was not the Minister of State for Finance for 10 years. I just want to correct that because I know sometimes
He was never the minister, for state, yeah.
be little facetious and putting things out there. Also, too, I question the timing of this report because this was said in January, and if you had the report from that time, why you wait till, I would say, or the House will be prorogued to bring this in, so where people cannot probably debate this inside the House. I just question the timing of it, and it still leaves me just wanting. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like to say fully believe, no, because of past bad experience with the government relates to saying one thing, then come to find out it's a different thing. You need to buy money was to pay off the debt. Now you come to find out that it's a different story. So past experience.
What do you think? I hear you, caller. 1 second. What do you think, Mr. Miller, that people get this notion from? If it was not so, that it was said in the Parliament that when we did this VAT thing, we would be paying off the national debt, or we'd be paying down on the deficit. Where do you suppose people got that from if that was not ever said in the Parliament?
Who are, people have their own way of putting things in their own mind. Those who are against you will find a way to twist the story to suit their own
But you are in the
And
driver's seat. You're
I
in the
was
bull
there.
run. You
No, no.
can actually tell us
Everybody
what was
knows
said.
that the funds that are collected by the government of Bahamas is debt-free expenses that the government incur on a fiscal year. What is left over, the government would also take that money and try to bring down the debt and also bring down the deficit. The deficit was brought down by over 80% over the 5-year period. That's a fact. Some people don't want to hear it, but that's a fact.
Michael Akita said
But
the
remember, we
deficit-
had 2 serious hurricanes
Mhm.
that came in the way.
Yeah, that's the point I made.
And the
earlier.
government had to then go ahead and borrow additional funding
Mm-hmm.
to assist the people in getting over that bad hurdle with those 2 hurricanes. I mean,
How
these
much
are
did the
facts
government
of
borrow?
life.
How much did the government?
The
go and
government
get?
borrowed, the last time we borrowed $150 million, which we just borrowed
Oh,
for the
we
last
knew
hurricane.
about that for the
150
last
million.
But
The
I'm
one
told
before
that
then, I believe it's some 50 million. The one before.
no, the figures that have been now brandied about has been $400 million to pay for 2 hurricanes. I think Ray Davis made the statement last week.
What they're talking about? If in fact he made that statement, I didn't hear him make that statement in Parliament. I was there. If he had said so, he would have said that is the total cost.
No, I'm saying total cost of the 2 hurricanes.
What NEMA does and what the Ministry of Urban Development does, the Ministry of Works and Urban Development, that comes directly out of the government coffers. That's not borrowed money. So that might very well have been the case. In other words, because of the situation, the government went and spent additional funds to assist Bahamians in getting over those 2 hurricanes. That would very been so. That could very well be the
Caller,
case.
what do you say?
So, well, you know, Mr. McKinney, I would encourage Mr. Miller, who is a PLP MP, to maybe do some research, and he would see that it was in the papers where back in 2015. I'm just trying to load it back up right now. I was reading about it while you guys were talking, but there was a statement made where Mr. Christie, when he was about to introduce VAT, saying that the reason for VAT because it was to pay off the national debt. Because there was a lot of back and forth, where a lot of resistance from the business community.
Yes, there was. There was.
I mean, why we need to be act heavily or extra, because you guys were on the platform on your manifesto during the campaign promising no new taxes if elected the government, but that was the first thing you brought in as in after you think of. So again, that right there's another example of why people.
That's because we didn't know what the financial situation of the country was at the time, man.
So I guess you guys were sitting in opposition for that, and when y'all went during that time, you were sitting. You guys were responsible for. I forget what the committee is, where the opposition is responsible for, where the finances or whatever. I forget what that committee names, but you guys was there. So you were in opposition. You're telling me nobody was really checking.
Like I said, when
I
someone
appreciate
make
your
up
call,
their
sir.
mind
Thank you.
that they want to twist something and they believe it, you got to find an answer for it. It is amazing to me, Mr. McKinney,
Mm-hmm.
that any one of us has been in business for 38 years. You've been in business for a long time. The funds that is collected to pay off a debt, you pay off the debt, what is left you put on your savings account or you do something different with it. The money that the governments collect, remember the government has a tremendous debt incurred by all governments, the PLP and the FNM. So whenever revenue comes in and you pay those bills that you normally pay to run the country, then you go ahead and you pay something on the debt, because you pay the debt every month, The government every month pays so much to the financial institution to bring the debt down. I mean, it's so simple. It's paid every month. When you got a bill, you have to pay it. When you got a loan, if your loan is 20, 30 years, 10 years, you pay that loan every month. That's all the government does. The government just happen to be the biggest business in town. And those people in the Ministry of Finance, you really need to bring people like Simon Wilson and other people here. But I would invite you. Please invite James Smith on here. That he can clear
Simon
his
Wilson
matter.
is the fellow
But James Smith,
who
is
you
the man should invite.
just was hitting on the other day.
But
Simon
James
Wilson.
Smith should be the person that you should have
You
here.
say Simon Wilson and them fellas, them was sitting down in the room with these people from who came to downgrade the Bahamas to junk-born status.
Yes, I did.
And they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Your words.
I said James
I got the
Smith.
soundbite right
I
here.
said James Smith is the person that the country needs on your show, sir, to clarify whatever questions they want. Could you please invite him on the show? Good friend of mine, I would ask him, sir.
Yes. He's invited.
I'm not
on
an
the
expert
show.
in these
Yeah,
areas.
no, I don't expect you to be. I understand that. But all I'm saying here today is that this does not have to be all this complicated.
But I don't know why people make it
doesn't
the
have to
issue
be.
in this election.
Well,
This election is
that's
not
a
about
different
what.
thing. That's a different thing. See,
But those who
we
are
have
calling,
no control.
are against the government to begin with.
We have no
you know
control
that. I know
over
that.
The bottom line,
They
you
ain't
can't
gonna
say
vote
that.
for me.
Leslie, the bottom line is this. You see, if Christie had moved earlier, and I maintain this, had Christie moved earlier to diffuse this particular matter.
You mean from what Mike said?
Yeah, we would not have been here. The gentleman referred to just now, it took 2 months from the time Michael Akitas on the 24th of January, 2017 at the convention.
But Steve.
No, let me
Go
finish.
ahead,
Made
please.
his point. It took the 24th of January. Michael Akitas made this I suppose, a sweet, couldn't resist, cheerleading kind of, that's where the bat money gone scenario thing, which was a very good thing he did that night for the hoopla in the room. You know, it was exciting. People, yeah, we got something to say now, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if Christie, who's the man in charge of the finance, and he saw that, boy, that didn't look that washed too well, which I'm sure that he saw because he is that kind of a fellow. The prime minister, dummy. Prime minister knows how to read people. And I'm sure that in his knowledge of that, he would have read the people over the last couple of months and realized that this thing is gaining ground in the negative for his government because of this non-compliance to quickly address the matter and deal with it. That was a weekend. By Monday morning, Tuesday the latest, Wednesday even in the parliament, the prime minister could have gone and dealt with this thing. It didn't happen. And I'm saying to you, it's his own fault that he didn't go and ensure that people understood clearly what it was that he was trying to have said by the minister, by the state minister of finance.
But Steve, with the greatest respect, most of the people that call these shows were
Leslie,
from the beginning.
Leslie, you cannot say that. That's hogwash. That's not so. That's hogwash. That's propaganda. Listen. Now you know that's propaganda. You cannot say that. How can you substantiate that most people who call these shows are against that?
I'm saying that when they speak, they are consistent from the time what came in.
Because that's the narrative. That is the chorus of the Bahamian people.
But
that's the chorus of the Bahamian people.
Listen, man,
the Bahamian people are saying all. Well, so you can tell me that how come the PLPs who have been indoctrinated into what has happened with the VAT money cannot call and say this is what has happened?
Indoctrinated into what?
Well, what you're now saying.
Most people don't pay attention to it. The average Bahamian isn't involved in
so
what
the
happened
people
to
who
the
pay.
VAT money.
So the people who pay attention to it are those who are calling. That's because they're
Yes,
concerned.
exactly.
So don't say that they just negative and against the government.
I'm saying that there's this expression that they use all the time. They don't trust the government. They don't know what happened. They don't know what happened. But they never trust the government.
They don't trust the government.
They don't trust this government. Let's face it, man. These are people who are basically anti-government.
But they don't trust this
government. But they are anti-government, and you know that to be the case.
There's reason why people have not been trusting.
But these are people who are anti-government. Who does not vote for the Progressive Liberal Party?
Well, that's not an important thing. This is the Bahamas. This is a nation of people.
Fine.
And it doesn't matter. You can't define people by the political party they vote for. You have to define people by them being Bahamians. They're qualified. They pay taxes, and they have a right to know.
When I go in my constituency, I work for everybody, man. I don't differentiate who's PLP and F&M. I am saying, but some of the people who call, their intent is always the same, consistent. Negative.
You can count that. Listen. The talk radio dial is wide across the country. The columnists and those who are writing, it's wide across the country. The whole damn lot of them, okay, cannot be just totally wrong.
I'm not saying
and irrelevant.
I'm not
so
saying
they
that
have
either.
a right to ask these questions.
I am saying, but
and you have an
it's the same
obligation,
consistent people.
and you and Christie have an obligation to answer as best you could.
And that's what I try to do.
Well,
I'm putting in simplistic terms.
But I'm saying to you, if Chris, all my point position, I look at Mr. Christie's report, I figure that it's going to be, he has done a comprehensive look at it. And I figure over the next few days, when we extrapolate and dissect and analyze, we'll see the wisdom of what Mr. Christie is saying. But I'm not judging the judgment and say, well, he didn't do it, that's that, forget about it. The people, we don't want to hear from you no more. That is not what we do. What we do is we walk it through and we work it through. And when people have a question, we expect that there's going to be some answers, because if Mr. Christie listens to the Bahamian people, he would not have been in this stew right now. This is a stew for him, because that's why he's answering it, because he wants to take the monkey off his back. And I don't blame him. I think it's right for him to try to do that. But I think it's a little late in the game for him to try to do it. But now that he's done it, hopefully it will hold because people will understand it. But all this gymnastics and all this thing about this number and all that, people don't understand all that. For real, I agree with you. People don't understand that. The body of people in the country are not interested in it, but they do expect that there are going to be certain persons like actuaries who are knowledgeable about these things, who can break it down and say, this is what it means. You're too lazy. You don't want to go to the extent of saying, these are my people. These grassroots people, these middle-class people, these educated people are my people, and we have an obligation to make sure they get it. That's why when I do this show, I talk in simplistic terms so that everyone can understand. And that's what I'm saying. The government is missing. That's missing on the government all of a sudden. It's expected that you are supposed to understand all this language and stuff. That is not so. And that's one of the reasons why people are still talking about it, Mr. Miller. That's the reason.
But Steve, but how long is it going to go on with it? What purpose does
you
it
can
achieve?
determine that. You can determine how long. You can determine how long.
Achieve?
But you can determine that. You and the PLP government, the first thing that you all have to do is come to terms and look, let's huddle together, fellas. The people, they seem to understand this. We have to bring it down and break.
Right here,
hold
black and white.
on. I ain't worrying about that.
All right.
The people have to break it down some more. And in the most simplistic terms, we have to express what it is. The Prime Minister tried to do that today because he's a smart man. The PM tried to do it. So maybe now you got to look at that, and all of the members of parliaments and those ministers of the government ought to run with what the PM says about what he is given an accounting, and take that to their constituencies so that the people can know. I know that this is a big bother for the governing party. It has to be, because everybody's talking about it. And so they're going to have to come to terms with it, Mr. Miller. You're going to have to come to terms with it, and for the people in Tall Pines. Just like all the rest of them are going to have to come to terms with it. You just can't walk this around and just say, well, don't worry about that. He didn't tell the people that they don't understand that's the business. That is not how it works. Okay. And you ought to know that as a politician of many years.
Yes.
Okay. Hard copy, how are you? Yeah, I'm listening. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Talk to me, please.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I just had to call because Mr. Miller really was making me angry. I honestly I think he just get an answer and that's it, regardless of the question. That's something people would be asking. What happened to the VAT money? Because I heard the Prime Minister today, and after a while I turned my radio off.
Why?
I don't want to hear him. And not only I don't want to hear that, because I think it went on too long. And not only that, I can only believe 1/3 of what he says. I believe everything. And then it also looked like a cover-up to me now, because his financial minister came out with a different report altogether. And another thing, Mr. Miller mentioned the ladies, the persons with a B average. That ain't just that happening since VAT. Who could go to COB for free? That was happening a long time
I
ago.
didn't say it's not happening after what? I never said that.
Started 37, and she went to COB.
How old she is? She's 37 now?
She didn't have to pay because she had a B average.
Understood.
So that is nothing new. That didn't happen since VAT. VAT just come around. And we want to know what happened to the money, because what I could remember, they said that was going to pay down on the national debt. That's why people were saying to them, do not put that money in the consolidated funds. That brought up all kind of talk about the consolidated funds at that time. Mr. Miller, if you can't remember, because you shouldn't be representing nobody.
Madam, I've been representing them from 87, okay? And I will win again. I want you to understand that. All you naysayers, come in my area.
I appreciate your call there.
Hey, you all have a good evening.
And that's what I got to fight.
No,
Because the same
no, you
people call with the
misunderstand.
same
No, you
story.
misunderstand.
I didn't misunderstand. Okay.
No, she said you can't represent anybody if you don't have the information. She don't mean that wide
No,
like
that's
the
what she
people.
mean.
No,
You
she
gotta
ain't
come
mean
up
that
with
in Tall Pines.
Okay.
She
I
mean,
see- don't-
she
I-
mean that
I
what
know
you
exactly what
what
she
you
meant.
what you are bringing.
They didn't want to hear the truth.
What you are
They got
bringing?
their own views.
What you are bringing from the House of Assembly? She says
The
You-
woman,
you
what she said,
can't
she didn't want to
represent
listen to the
nobody.
PM, so she turned it off.
Yeah, but listen.
Listen, I'm one of the
about-
best
about-
MPs in the
about
history of
that.
this country.
Of course
How do
you are.
think how
Of
don't
course
listen
you
to
are.
that woman, man?
Of course you are.
Talking foolishness.
Of course you are. You're a great
What?
MP. There's no question. You give good
But
representation.
these people are so negative and biased.
But listen to this. Do you know Leslie Miller? If you just settle for 1 second, do you know that out of all the people today that I spoke with, and this is just did you get to hear the Prime Minister this morning? Yeah, I heard it, but man, when he started talking, I turned it off. Listen to me, Mr. Miller. This is God's truth right here. Everyone who I asked that told me that. Just what that woman said just now. And I don't even know who she is. But everybody who I asked today in the circles that I move in, PLPs and FNMs, told me that. So I said, I don't know what that means, except to say that the Prime Minister's got to be able to hear that from people, that they turning him off. Why are they doing that? If he has the information, I said if I had a chance to listen to that, I would have listened to everything. But you see, I couldn't get to listen today because of other assignments that I was on. But the point is this, that to tell the PM and you and anybody else that if the people are turning him off, that means that they're tuning him out. That's what it means to me.
Some people.
What does it mean to you?
Minute amount of people.
Well, I only talked to about 10 people.
And I say minute.
Yeah, well, that
Just
may be
the
still.
you call.
Maybe 10 of all the 400,000 that we have. The 10 I talked to may have been
No.
just
I
out
say
of the
minute amount
400,000.
of people. Because nobody is turning people off when they speaking in Parliament on such an important issue.
Yeah, I think it's a very
It's a
important
very
issue.
important issue, man.
And I
You're
think
talking
that
about the finances
Bahamians,
of the country.
yes,
man.
I think that Bahamians ought to tune in and be a part of these discussions.
They don't want to hear what nobody got
and
to
listen
say.
to what is happening.
They
I've
already
said
got
that
the
over and
minds
over
made up.
again. But at the end of the day, you can't be talking in circles. In other words, spinning wheels and ain't saying nothing. People want to hear. This is what happened. You know, point by point, clarity and diction and everything else so that the people could say, it's
McKinney.
unmistakable. This is what the
Mr.
PM
McKinney,
says.
Mr. McKinney,
Yes.
how could you expect the government of Bahamas?
Mhm.
They collect this VAT. And it's clear, you know, the VAT is collected on all the different areas in our country. Okay, customs duties.
Goods and
That's
services.
VAT. I mean,
Goods and
real property
services.
tax, right?
Mhm.
I mean, on everything we do, it is there. What don't they understand that the government collects all the money? The freight expenses of the government. People in the hospital who's sick, they got to pay for that. All the expenses that all the loans that the government borrowed,
Mhm.
they got to pay down the loan. How do you differentiate what you get from what? When what is a compilation
Mhm.
of all the revenue that the government gets?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, well,
I mean, no country in the world has done it. No country on God's earth.
the first thing
All of Europe doesn't do
The
it.
first thing is that we got to know this, that all the monies by law, okay, and this is what ought to be articulated. All the monies that we collect by law is put into the consolidated fund.
That every country does.
Mhm.
United States government.
Yeah, but see, you start from that premise because that's what the problem is.
What? Why? Why
Hold on,
gotta be
hold on.
different? I just asked
No,
the
no,
question.
I'm not saying that you must change it. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yes,
I'm not
okay.
saying you must change it.
Yeah.
I'm saying the premise you must start from an educated point of view, so that the Bahamian public could get it.
Okay.
And you must be honest about it, that all of the monies that are collected by the government as revenue, as taxes, are put into one
One fund.
particular fund, which is called the consolidated fund. That's what the
right.
word is. It
Mhm.
consolidates
Yeah, all
all
of
of
the
the funding,
Yes.
everything that you get.
Yes.
But there are some things that you do have in being able to say this here was earmarked for these things in customs, and so the customs actual income would have been this. We would know what that is because it'll all be dumped into the consolidated fund. We're going to consolidate all these funds. You see the point? But if people don't understand that it's a consolidated fund that you're putting all the monies in, they will then have the kind of focus and view that because they are collecting a new tax, which is value-added tax, it will be a separate funding all along. People perhaps have been missing on them
It is
that
one-
it's supposed to go into one
It is
consolidated
one
fund.
form of taxation
Yeah.
in exchange for the other. You take duty of certain items that be important to this country. You so in some cases you eliminate those duties. Therefore, the VAT tax pick that duty up or pick
No,
that
I
amount of
understand
money.
it.
I don't understand it, man.
No, I
It's so
understand that.
simple.
The VAT is supposed to be the the equalizer to balance things out
Exactly.
because you would have already lost some monies.
Yes.
Because you've reduced certain things
Yes.
in the customs duty.
Yes.
And because
And it
we're trying to
balance
get
out.
away from that customs duty thing, we
And-
have this new
and
income
what should be more
that's
than what
called
you
VAT.
got last time.
Yeah. So the point is, I believe that you all, and I'm saying this pointedly to you, Mr. Miller, you all misrepresented from the initial stages as to what was supposed to become of the VAT money. So in your exuberance to sell it to the business people, some miscalculations were made. And so people have this view that other things should have happened.
Mr. McKinney, how could that be when?
What you mean, how could it be? That's what happened.
Mr. McKinney, the consultant's been here for months. Those people had more meetings throughout the length and breadth of this country, especially in New Providence, almost weekly. But all the financial people, everybody in this country was invited to those meetings. They had discussions throughout the length and breadth.
Well, you know.
How could it be that everybody missed this? That's because the people who came here from New Zealand and elsewhere know that in their budget, what they collect, they pay their expenses, and what is left over is what is in their budget. They
Mr.
have
Miller,
a surplus.
Mr. Miller, I got plenty calls. Let me just say this. I'm not going to try to convince you or anybody else because I'm not a tax man or an accountant or an economist. I'm not going to try to convince you that people want to know more. I leave it to you. You will see the proof of that in the pudding later on. That's what I'm saying. It's not my. It is not. It's not my. It's not my decision to try to get you to be convinced of it. I'm only telling you from the feedback that we have gotten and that you know that there's more to be said about the value-added tax. George, you wanted to say before.
Yeah, I want to say this. I sit here and I listen to both of you. You have your view, and he has his view.
Mr. Miller has his view.
And you've got the view of some people that call. And it seems to me that that's not going to be, nothing's going to be resolved because for the, I guess for the past 45 minutes or so, there's only one back and forth. It's either the people who call all the radio shows are stating the same thing every day. And Leslie, with his view of what it is and what it should what it is that they should understand. So we could stay here the whole afternoon and nothing is going to be resolved and no other views are going to be heard. So I quite frankly, I would suggest that we get some other input into this. That's what I would do, because it's just beyond me. I don't know.
I appreciate your statements, George Capron, and I don't agree with you. I think that what is happening here is a lively and interesting dialogue between those in the public and those who want to hear, and those who are here who represent the government. That's Mr. Miller, and myself, who's the host of the show, who in fact is just trying to get him to understand what it is that people are saying. So I hear you, I respect that, but I don't agree with you. I'm going to run to some calls now. Hard copy, how are you? Hard copy, how are you? All right. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello, am I on?
Yes, sir, you are on.
Okay, good evening to you and your guests.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Yes.
sir.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Miller a question. I've been to Hezbollah a few times. It's a very beautiful place. I really like to go there. I wanted to ask him, I know his company might make, certain amount of money every day or a week or a month. If he comes into his company and he finds, let's say he makes $500 a day, and he comes in and he finds out that $400 of his money just gone missing, what would it be? What would be his action? What would he do in that situation?
I would inquire as to what happened to the $400.
Say again?
I would inquire as to what happened to the $400 that is missing.
So you would do an investigation.
But I don't run the place. My daughters run that. I have nothing to do with Mario's bowling. I run Sunboy's
I'm saying
place.
if you run it,
you ran it.
I would inquire to find out what went wrong with the $400 that was missing. Yes.
Isn't that what people are doing now? What happened to that money?
It is obvious. It went to the freight expenses of the government, man. I mean, this thing got to stop, you know. It's just crazy, man.
So the thing got
really
to do
is.
with the consolidated fund. You know, this has to do what I was talking about is, I've heard that it has been missing.
Go ahead,
10 million from this ministry, 20 million from this ministry. I didn't get the figures right, but
yeah,
this money, I haven't heard no investigation.
Do you all have any facts of all these millions of dollars you're talking about? Has there been any facts presented to anyone about these millions of dollars, man? It is innuendos.
Okay, is it true or not? That money is missing.
I don't know if it's true or not, but you're saying, so I assume you have the answers. I'm not aware of these millions of dollars that you all are talking about, man.
We know that some money is missing. But it's been missing up and down all these governments.
Yeah.
Because we know the PLP campaigned on the fact that there was $1.5 million or so plus that was taken out of the tourism ministry, and they were supposed to do something about it. They didn't do anything about it. In fact, from day one, it's been mum, and we know that all sorts of shenanigans went on over at National Insurance. We know about that, and some fellow Moss either got fired, he quit, or and the people who he raised hell about, they also some of those were fired. Now, but see, what bothers me is that these things happen, and from government to government, millions and millions of dollars are missing. But does anything about it?
That's why the gentleman's asking.
No. Let me talk now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And nobody has done anything to the government up and down. That's why I don't support any of them, because it makes absolutely no sense. Because we know these monies are missing. We know who took them. Nothing is done about it. It's like a football that you just kick it around and kick it around until the people forget about why it happened and who it happened to, and the thieves are gone scot-free every time. So that's why I don't want to get involved in beating around the bush with these things. Either you're going to deal with them up front or forget about it.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
Totally, Judge.
Sir, you have another question? Because we've got many calls. We got to run.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Hard copy, how you doing? Before the break, how you doing? Are you there? Okay. Hard copy, are you there? How you doing before the break? I'm listening. Go ahead. Okay. Hard copy, how are you?
Steve,
Yes, sir.
how you doing this evening?
Very good. Turn the radio down, man.
How you doing this evening?
Very good, thanks.
Hello?
Very good, thanks. Please, your question or your comment?
Yeah. Mr. Miller said that they were downgraded because of the Bama. But I think they were downgraded before Bama was finished.
Bama is just not finished yet. 21 phase of Bama is finished, and we were downgraded because Bama collapsed, if you remember, sir. That's why we were downgraded. Moody said it clearly. The collapse of Bahama.
But the first downgrade was Bama was incompleted yet, so you couldn't become downgraded.
It still isn't complete.
Bama only just started maybe 2 years ago.
So
your first downgrade was, I think, 1 year after you came into power.
No, but Leslie's correct. See, what has happened here is that on the Bama issue, the projections on what they were expecting for Bama to make, that would have dissipated because it would not have now been calculated for that to happen anymore because of the problems that they had at Bama and still have at Bama. So the growth. Listen, man. The growth.
The first downgrade wouldn't have been that. The last downgrade would have been that.
Okay, have it your way.
Okay.
Hard copy. How are you?
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the first caller to your show, but I listen to it often.
Thank you so much for calling. Don't be shy. Just talk to us and say what you got to
I'm not
say.
going to be shy because I don't think that we're getting a general scope of what's really happening. And I think that Mr. Miller is absolutely right that everybody who was calling is basically being negative, and obviously everybody who is calling cannot be negative. Some persons have to be positive because according to the report that I heard, it's pretty comprehensive. Now, it may not add up right down to the last dollar or cent, but basically, in my opinion, it balances out. And I'm not any kind of accountant, but it seems pretty simple and clear to me. I think that the Bahamian people have changed, as someone called and said. They have changed, yes. You can't feed them anything the way you used to before. But another thing is, I'm surprised that we have not become like the U.S., a totally litigious place, because we would be suing people left, right, and center, because we don't believe anything that is said by anyone or any government at any time anymore. And so there has to be an issue. The lady called about University of the Bahamas. I know when I went there, I had to go on the government guarantee loan. And I had a very high B average. So those funds that were given out, they're not given out easily. Have to fight tooth and nail for the monies to be given out. Now, she says her daughter's 37.
That could not have been. That program was not in place. I mean, we all know that. But anyway, be that as it may.
Right. It's not here any longer, but I'm trying to say, why would the government be giving funds within the government guaranteed loan that persons have to pay back to pay the College of the Bahamas as it was then, if they are giving monies out to persons for the B average? That money was not easily come by. Now, I don't know, when Mr. Miller said that they're giving out these funds now, it sounded pretty new to me.
That's over the last few years. In fact, that came under the Honorable Minister who's then on. Mr. Fitzgerald is the one who initiated that program, as far as I'm aware. That was done some 4 years ago.
I'm not sure what she is referencing, but I just thought that I would chime in because it seems that nobody would chime in to say that this seems pretty reasonable to me.
What, you mean the budget?
That was made today.
You mean the presentation by Christie seems pretty reasonable? That
Seems pretty reasonable. You know, I haven't added the figures. I'm sure many people have not. Nobody has had the time.
So when you say pretty reasonable, you're talking about that the fact that he gave a report and the fact that he gave some kind of accounting, you think that that's on the right track?
Yes, I feel so.
Of course, I feel so too. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we have to wait and see how these things add up and to see why, in fact, it took well, we can only guess why it took so long, but we need to see the wisdom in the fact that the Prime Minister decided that, look, let me deal with this thing. And he only dealt with this thing because it was running out of control. The people were just talking negatively about it. There's a reason why people talk negative about things. They either don't understand, or if they understand, they don't understand the full picture, and it's imperative upon the government of the Bahamas to make sure that they get it as best as they could. They get it. That's it. That's all you can do.
I wonder if when we tell them, if they get it even then, or if they're willing to get it. If people are not willing to get it, I don't think they ever will.
I see. I appreciate your call.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, that's the whole reason I stayed out of the conversation, because unless you've got the picture fully,
yes,
you just don't.
But even the lady, though she wants to be,
the mouth,
though she wants to be positive, which is good. At the end of the day, it's not conclusive.
But she's practical.
Yeah, but she's practical, and all are practical by saying that the fact that the Prime Minister's gone and done this, that's a good start. There's nothing untoward about that. We're all practical, but the fact of the matter is that you've got to be, this is accounting. Accounting is something that is down to science, Mr. John.
Yes,
Paper.
I recognize that.
All right, okay.
But you have to be able to go over it properly,
yes,
and absorb it, and then make statements on it.
Well,
you just don't go shouting, screaming off of the mouth unless you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you are. Are you trying to say that we are screaming off of the mouth and we don't know what we're talking about?
I've heard some people call and they only just blabbering.
But that's because this is the initial reaction to it. The Prime Minister spoke today. The people have a right, even if that's what they're saying. It's their initial reaction to what the Prime Minister says.
On Monday, was he on your show Monday or Friday?
No, that was
Friday,
Thursday or so, last week.
Man,
This is Hard Copy. We're going to run to the break and come back. There's more to come. There's lots of calls on the telephone line. I want to hear what you have to say because I've asked you for your feedback. And because I think that you have something to say. Leslie Miller also has something to say. George Capron has a lot to say. We're going to get to those things in a minute. Come back from the break and see if they will say what they have to say after these words.
Attention homeowners. Do you have enough coverage for your home and possessions? Well, if you're not sure, maybe it's time to talk to Advantage. Your property and belongings are probably worth a lot more now than when you first insured them. After all the natural disasters we have experienced, it's more important than ever to be fully protected. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years of service.
Let's talk more progress. These are watchword parks and public beaches authority. Our community parks and local beaches are looking clean and pristine. There is no need to complain. Only get involved. Parks and Beaches Authority is removing garbage, mowing and edging medians, trimming trees and cleaning verges. We clean and together we all maintain. Now that's progress.
What does comprehensive mean? It's when you include everything, not just some things. Why? I'm reading it on your Facebook page. Your friend Kalina has comprehensive. You see that? Comprehensive health coverage that includes primary and specialist care, hospitalization, surgical disease care, and rehabilitative services. So they didn't leave anything out? They sure didn't. Kalina really is my friend. Talk to Kalina about comprehensive health coverage that won't leave you exposed. Visit kalina.com or find us on Facebook.
Jimmy's Wines and Spirits is getting you ready for the Easter holiday by hooking you up with a free Sans Light or Sans Pink Radler. From now until Easter, when you buy a 6-pack of or Sans Pink Radler, you get one free. Make sure you have Spirits Nassau Street, Cable Beach, Shirley Street, Carmichael Road, or Wolf Road. The Easter Bunny has come early. Get the hookup at Jimmy's Wines and Spirits only.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security laser check. That is why we put 15, yes, securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. At epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
At Rod's Electric Motors, they repair all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts, handle wind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads, handle open weekdays, AM Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-02.
Are you a lover of Bahamian music? The Bahamas Ministry of Tourism's The Bahamian Ting Song Competition Top 20 finalists have been announced who makes it to the top 10. Log on to listen and vote for your favorite songs at www.bahamas.com/thebahamianting. Oh, and don't forget to mark your calendars for April 21st, 2017 for the grand finale concert on Fort Montague Beach Park.
For more information, call 302-2000.
It's a Bahamian Ting.
The next election in the Bahamas will be the most serious election ever. You better mark it.
All I can say, if the Bahamians don't watch out, if the PLP actually gets back in power, this country will definitely not be long gone.
You said if the PLP get back in to run, what country you talking about? Not the Bahamas?
Your DNA had their function on Christie Park, right? They had about
400 people, right? I was down with the PLP here. They had about 5,000 people. Let me. This election, I go right back to my property. This election is going to be one we have never seen before. Terry Christie wants the third time around. The Lord is not allowing him to go this way, to embarrass him, to shame him, and everybody that is following him.
To realize and to know what this country can do under the last 4 years is ridiculous.
The PLP is, in my opinion, if you look at all the suspicious deals and the moving around that they've been doing, I was sure people would be called up for treason.
Everybody, as a Bahamian, has rallied around a prime minister that they can trust.
Welcome back. This is Hard Copy on a Wednesday. It's the midweek crisis on a Wednesday. And every time that we come on a Wednesday, Leslie Miller, George Capron, and myself, there is a crisis of sorts. Today, Christie made some statements and gave a report. And some people believe that they will just accept that report and should just accept it because, after all, this is the substantial Minister of Finance speaking. And over the next few days, for sure, we'll be able to dissect all that was said. And there's going to be a lot of commentary on that as we talk. But there are people who want to talk about the initial reaction to this whole thing and to put in their 2 cents. And we want to also entertain them because they're on the line. And I also want to turn my attention to other things that are happening in politics here before we lose the day, because Leslie Miller is still running for Tall Pines. And then George has some things to tell me about some other areas that has been quite interesting in his move about, because some people who you think may just have a walk in the park may not have a walk in the park, and we'd like to get to that. So let me just get these calls out of the way. Hard Copy, how are you?
Good evening, Steve. How are you?
Very good, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening to my cousin Leslie Miller.
Good evening.
Good evening to George Capron.
Bless you.
My racetrack friend.
Amen.
Georgie, but boy, you controversy. And when it comes to the FNM, you spiteful boy. But you need to change, man.
My dear,
you need to forgive and
my dear,
forget, man,
the
man.
truth will set you free. And if you want to be tied, then you won't listen to the truth. You won't hear the truth, and you'll only have your own view.
You can talk after I finish and listen to you. The things in life we have to realize. Every dog got their day and every cat have their Sunday afternoon.
I'd like to have a night.
Before your time out. Okay? And my cousin there, the pot cake man. One of the things we must know, we could fool some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. Have a good evening.
I appreciate your call. That's what she wanted to get off her chest, okay? Hard Copy, how are you? What do you want to get off your chest today?
Yes, Steve, how are you?
Peace and love. I'm in good shape.
You get my cousin in the studio, which is Georgie Capron, and my good friend, Leslie Miller.
Okay.
I have about 8 books, and then Leslie Miller constituency, you can get all of them, and then Doris Johnson Estate. So
Thank
you
you
know
very much, sir.
what I'm trying to call that lady. She was wrong for saying that the prime minister trying to explain this herself where the what money when she cut off her radio. So you don't want to hear
Exactly.
what the prime minister has to say. So our mind already made up. So whatever the prime minister has to say, she not going to listen. She don't care.
I see.
And people have to stop that. You understand? We have a country to build, and if the Commonwealth, as it go bad, all of us can suffer.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you. Leslie, I wish I was in your constituency, but I didn't see Breeze. I really wish. And Georgie Capron, we go way back. This Oakwell boy, this Winky man. You have a nice time, man.
All righty.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you,
your
Winky.
call. All right, so Winky is called in, and Winky says that she was wrong for cutting off her radio when the prime minister is talking. Well, if he was irritating her, she perhaps just exercised her democratic right and give him the click. Hard Copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Peace and love, all is well.
Good. Listen, I listen to your show like every evening between you and Rodney Monkai, bounce back between you all two. Listen to the show, right? But it depends on what the topic is you're speaking about. But I specifically did not tune into the Mr. Monka show today because I wanted to tune into your show to This you're going to put on this report today. Mr. McKinney, and don't cut me, please. I know you're going to cut me. Don't cut me. Listen.
Be respectful.
I traveled.
And you won't be.
I traveled today throughout New Providence. And everywhere I went, persons were torn in listening to the Prime Minister as he gave the report on the VAT and whatever. Right? Now listen, I'm not saying everybody agreed with it. But I mean for how it's so ironic that everything the government do and anything negative coming from it, it's coming from you. Like today, you went to everywhere, everybody you talked to said they turn off the radio. The other day, there's like so much negative things from you coming from the government. Does the government ever do anything right while you're in power to you, sir? Because I don't hear you saying nothing the Prime Minister do right. I mean, we don't have to like him, you know. But at the end of the day, sir, at the end of the day, I believe the FNM, the PLP, any one of them getting power after this election call, all of them going in there and they can do some good for the country. Some are going to do some bad now while trying to do good, and we got to deal with them. But honestly, just last night I was at the FNM rally. And they calling for they don't know where the VAT money going, they don't know. Now they get the report on the VAT money. The Prime Minister said that these reports, independent auditors could go now and check these reports and do these things. What it is else the government have to do for these people to say, but okay, we get the answer. But because you don't get the answer what you hear. And Mr. Kitty, please, I don't know no politician. I don't know none. Okay? But I feel like these talk shows, they are dumbing down our society. So I think we have a duty, especially as talk show hosts, to educate these persons on simple things like this consolidated fund. Yes, the government has their duty to do some things, but a talk show host what people listen to every day, we are dumbing down our society. Because if you hear the things, like for example, the woman say she turn off her radio. It's your money, you don't know what your money going, you can turn off your radio?
All right, I appreciate what you're saying. I don't agree with you. I think that you are out to lunch on a lot of things that you're saying.
McKinney, one more thing. Listen, I have two phones right here in my hand right now.
Okay,
you know what I did the other day?
Thank you very much. I think that you're out to lunch on what are you saying. You have some points, but of course, to just broadly paint everybody in the same brush and say that this is what is happening in talk radio is dumbing down people, I cannot agree with you on that. That's nonsense. And you know it. And if you don't agree with what we say, you can always challenge it with your own alternative facts to the matter. We talk facts on this show. Some you like, some you don't like. I talk good about the Prime Minister all the time. Not every day, because he doesn't deserve that every day. Pretty much I tolerate a lot of stuff like you calling just now, running on with stuff that you know nothing about. And that's something I do as well. So I try to be a free and open-minded and equal opportunity provider. And sometimes we have people just like you who go off the deep end talking nonsense. Hard copy, how are you?
Good evening, Stephen. Good evening to your guest.
Peace and love.
That's the gentleman who just called. He has his opinion, he has his view, but he's not out to lunch. He went to dinner now. Going to get breakfast. Now, a gentleman called before you went on the break, Steve.
Yep.
He asked Mr. Miller a question about missing appropriate funds. Mr. Miller said, if he have any proof. The gentleman next to Miller, Mr. Miller, came in and said, missing money.
I didn't miss that.
So he used the word that we know who keeps the money, who got it, and nothing is being done. That's why the people are questioning the government. But I hear Mr. Miller said nothing to Mr. Capron when Mr. Capron said, we know where the money gone, we know who keeps it, but yet he want to ask the guy if he have any variable facts. Why didn't he ask Mr. Capron if he have any variable facts?
Because some things don't even get involved in, because unless
you don't get involved in now.
You all just say things just to say it. Is amazing to me. You got so many experts in this
Leslie,
country.
you got to watch
just school it.
The narrative.
Sometimes I just school it, man.
Okay, all right. You finished, sir?
No, one last thing, Steve. Steve, you remember the time of the UBP?
I remember some of it.
Some of it. Steve, I passed to Kennedy today, right? Remember when they used to go around getting you a bag of brown grocery and $20 bills? Well, they was on the park giving out this little brown bag with flour, rice, and sugar in it. And I know how much money was in it.
Who was doing that?
Who was doing this?
A brown bag full of flour, rice,
and sugar.
Who was doing it?
One of the representatives for Kennedy. He let you know who I'm talking about.
I don't. I asking you. You said you saw them. Therefore, you should
Well,
stay to this.
You can say.
I don't understand you.
Part of your party. He's a member of your party who run the gas station, who running in Kennedy. I don't have to give you this information, but you know, Mr. Miller.
What the hell are you talking about? I know. How I supposed to know? I'm in the
don't know
studio.
all the members
I
of
supposed
your-
to know. Get real.
How he would run it?
Okay, how I supposed to know? I supposed to know who it is. First of all, there is no Kennedy on the map.
Not this time.
There's no Kennedy. You saying Kennedy? There is no Kennedy constituency.
Bambutown. But he was on Kennedy Park giving a grocery bag, brown grocery bag. I'm asking you, is that after all of this time, that's what the people wait of a little brown grocery bag?
I don't have the slightest idea what you're talking about.
I
That's
hear what
you
you're
saw.
saying. I appreciate it.
McKinney.
Thank you very kindly. All right. This is a day of flying off the deep end.
You know,
and,
it's just the data. The people who normally call in are anti-government people, and that's what they do. I can deal with it, man. Let's be frank.
hard copy. How are you?
Hello, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir.
No, good afternoon, Mr. Capron and to Mr. Miller.
Yeah.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Mr. Miller, not all of them that way you calling in. Some are
I didn't say all of them, you know.
Huh?
I didn't say all.
Okay, some of them.
You say some of them. What are you saying? You're saying some of them are also supporters of the party. Of the PLP.
Like I want to tell Mr. Miller something right now, like Mr. Miller. Whosoever that woman, I didn't catch who talk about they cut off their radio. I catch the part where a man was saying she was wrong and she this and that.
She's not wrong. She has a right to turn the radio off.
Kenny, I agreeing with you. I think that man was out for dinner, like the last caller say, out for lunch and everything.
He was
I
too
don't
busy
normally
trying to attack me in his own way. That's what it was.
Yeah, and I don't like to attack callers, right, Mr. McKinney, but when I listen to him, right, I say I think he really he sound like he mixed it up. I mean,
Yeah,
he understands.
he tried
what
too
time
hard.
this is left.
He tried too hard.
And Mr. McKinney, these guys turn their phone off on the people. They show the people contempt, Mr. McKinney. Mr. McKinney, you know the attitude what some of get them have. Maybe not Leslie Miller, right? But I know even if you press him, he'll tell you what you have to tell him. I just hope he don't be a part of them. Said who's talk, but we are ungrateful when we speak our mind. And it's our time to speak our mind now. They cut off their phone.
My phone is always on. I answer my phone.
Nonchalant attitude. You know what they be saying behind our back. What I understand, and I ain't got to know what they thinking in their mind. But this is what I understand over the years. They don't cross what we say. You know what we gotta do collectively as a people? We gotta show them better than we could tell them. We must tell them the same thing. You think you don't care? We don't care. Now, what I want to try to find out quickly, right? I don't know why Kenny Yada stepped down at that last minute, right? But the former driver for the member of parliament for my area, Dion Smith, he was nominated to be the DNA candidate.
DNA. Yeah, I saw that.
What kind of things flying around on Facebook and different things? Now, listen to me. I know it's fake news out there, but y'all can't be dropping in all of these things, but fake news. Okay? We ain't buying that. It may be some truth to some of these things. See, parents, Mr. McKinney, I think I learned it from Mr. McKinney before he say something about the parents or the 99%. Let me tell you how it's come across to some of the people.
Perception.
Like, we PLP think we
99%
above
reality.
the law. We are not above the law. Certain things that it come across bad. This Dion Smith, it might be too late, Mr. Miller, but he should be called in. I'm not saying that he can't win the seat for the PLP, or we are not going to win PLP, but it come across bad, Mr. Miller. You understand? All of the things come up flying around, they let Kenny Yada step down for whatever reason, right?
What are you talking about?
No, Kenyatta in Golden Isles, eh? Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he decided to step down. He is his own man. He decided not to run the same thing.
He said, Papa agrees. He said, that's his business. He said, he's talking about your business. He says he mentioned Dion. What's his name? Dion Sanders?
Listen to me. We feel like we above the law, my friend. Okay?
Carry on like above the law.
Who's carry on? He's talking about Dion Smith. What's with him and Dion Smith? I don't know what he's talking about.
Garbage, what they talking about? Who this to know? The Bahamian people got a whipping for some of these. I'm not saying the PLP.
Yeah, the call is deteriorating. Yeah. Papa, you're breaking him badly. So, I can't hear exactly what you're saying, but I get pieces of what you said.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Let me just wrap up. I think all candidates, Mr. Miller, but you and I think like that, but all of y'all should be volunteer yourself to take a drug test. Why? Because us, the citizens who's supposed to be the boss.
What the hell is this now?
Listen to me, Mr. Miller. They carry on. Listen to me. Some of y'all carry on like a man on crack cocaine on drugs. You hear what I'm saying? Like a man.
Okay, the more I can go pee, okay?
You should be an obligation. You all have to take a drug test. You understand?
Yeah, the call is breaking up, Pop. I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you so kindly, but the call is deteriorated. But the gist of what he says is that you all of y'all, he didn't say just the PLPs, but he says most of these fellows who run it need to take a drug test because y'all is carry on like people who are on crack cocaine. And he mean politicians. He mean politicians. I don't know. I only tell you what the fellas say.
Let me interject your thought here.
Sure, go ahead, George.
Okay. Totally away from what's being talked about. I see an absolute piece of stupidity going on in this country with broadcasting, really. You know, it seems that we are now in a situation where if you want to watch ZNS TV, it's not a public service anymore.
No, but
you
that's
have to go and pay Cable Bahamas or whoever they are. And the government seems not to know what's going on in that area because we already pay and have paid forever for ZNS. We pay for that, and now we're going to pay again because you talk about a consolidated fund, and ZNS is financed through the consolidated fund. So why is it that the people in the country now, if they want to watch ZNS News, they have to pay Cable Bahamas all over again? What's going on? Yeah. And what is IRCA for? What is their function?
Yeah.
To allow this to happen? Because you've got double jeopardy.
Yeah, well, you know,
yesterday about how much they charge that they forcing BTC to allow them to use their facilities and to use the infrastructure. How is that possible?
Well, that's what the foolishness is. That's the foolishness was happening. But you know, on the topic that George Capron talked about, something happened some time back. ZNS allowed the engineers from Cable Bahamas to go into their tool room, I call it, where things happen at ZNS, and something was reconfigured, some wiring or whatever it was, as I recall. I think it happened on the Ingham Dam. And when that happened, ZNS, somehow you could only get ZNS if they were on the cable apparatus. And so the rabbit, you remember the rabbit, the rabbit antennas that people had just plug into the wall, and the poor people and everybody could just watch what they want from that. That has been taken away. No one has replaced it yet. Everyone has ignored it.
Why?
Nobody has been checking for it. I don't know.
Cable Bahamas was pirating off ZNS forever.
On all the international stations out there, all the satellites.
So
Yeah,
what
but
do
you
we
know,
do?
None of it was Minister of Trade and Industry.
The regulators who are IRCA, the regulators must get on top of it. There are lots of complaints because you said something very interesting. ZNS is the national broadcaster. Okay, it's like the BBC.
Yes.
They are the national broadcaster, but even with the regulations and the things that have been stipulated that they should do, they have not been following that because they are playing one set of ads on this whole election campaign thing that is contrary to what the rules are in engagement of elections. That's what they're doing. And ad nauseum, you're getting all of this stuff over and over and over again. No one has done anything about it. And so one of the things that has to happen in ZNS is that ZNS has to become a public broadcasting system and really mean it this time and do it. Because all of this interference and direct linkage to governments in this thing is just a little bit too much. They have to put that in the hand of private people who can run the corporation, run the facility in a way that it covers all peoples and all programming for all different genres.
Yeah, but one of the things that really has bothered me right from its inception was the fact is that in here walks somebody who's dead broke, and the prime minister at the time designate public funds from
Cable Bahamas, Cable 2000.
Cable Bahamas.
The same exact thing is happening now with this group that's called Alive, you know. See, in case you don't know, They're now for a public offering. They're looking to raise
30 million.
50 million. They're
yeah.
looking. That's what they
Yeah.
were published.
Yes, but-
And we have to say, well, how come you all come here? You're supposed to have some money to start this
These are
thing.
foreigners.
You come here
Exactly.
and you're
These are
talking, but
foreigners.
you need to go to the public for some
These are
money.
foreigners.
Well, people are going to ask those questions.
foreigners.
Nobody asks those
See,
questions.
what bothered me and still bothers me is that the Cable Bahamas fellow was told that he had to raise $30 million within a certain period, short period. And to the next day, the Prime Minister says, okay, you get 15 million from, I'm going to see that you get 15 million from
NIB, 15 from Scotia,
12 from Batelco, BEC, I don't know what it is.
No, they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
BEC ain't got no money to do that.
No, they gave it. What you mean they were involved in it?
No, not BEC.
BEC.
BEC, NIB.
I'm not asking you.
And of course,
I'm not asking you.
The National Insurance
I don't
Board
keep it with
and
BEC no
BTC.
I don't keep it.
Listen, all it is, and
They
you
got
all,
over
listen,
40 million of public funds.
gentlemen,
Started.
the bottom line is that more has to be done with IRCA,
The foreign order payment.
and the involvement, even at that level, the political involvement is overwhelming. I would imagine the political involvement, even at IRCA level, it has been perceived, has been overwhelming. And the fact that BTC is now in a quandary because I spoke with Leon this week, and he has to pay $21 million here, $11 million here for
What?
different things that as a part of charges and stuff and funding that they have to do. And then he has to give away all this infrastructure. And these guys want to roam. They want to do everything on our apparatus, and nobody seems to even
But,
understand it or even care about it.
What is interesting, the elephant in the room, nobody has considered, What about the infrastructure that BEC owns and the Bahamian people own?
Yeah.
That
That
all of those
BVL.
people use that they don't get a penny for it.
Yeah.
Okay, because all the infrastructure is on BEC poles and in BEC apparatus, which is owned by the Bahamian people. BEC gets nothing. Little or nothing, pennies.
A lot of things we can talk about.
well.
Hard copy, how you doing?
Let's dance.
Hi, Mr. McKinney. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
All right, and good evening to your guest.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, one thing I have to say about the Bahamas is we have this phenomenon where the minority have the ability to make themselves sound very loud and project their wishes, disguise it in the form that Bahamians are as interested as they are. We were told recently that Bahamians were very interested about the Freedom of Information Act, that we were interested in women who were being oppressed and depressed in this country, and they want the ability to give their children. We were told that, the black people be so mad that we can shut the country down. But Reynard and the rest of them ended up downtown by themselves.
Okay.
And so these people, through the media and talk shows, yours excluded, are able to project their wishes as though it's the will of the people. But all the black people are around, the people who comprise the majority of this country, the topic of our discussion don't be, man, where the bad money gone? Because the intelligent ones of us, we realize that those who orchestrated this whole thing know where the bad money gone. I confronted Mr. Zhivago Lang on air on Monday, and Mr. Zhivago Lang said, well, the VAT money, he confessed to the nation that the VAT money goes to the consolidated fund and is distributed by government like that. And so those people who concocted where the VAT money gone, those people who talk about we wanted to give our citizenship to foreigners, those people who say that we interested in shutting the country down, and those people who said that we interested in the Freedom of Information Act, all those are proven to be liars because when the rubber hit the road, the Bahamian people showed them exactly where our heads and our hearts are. And Mr. Miller is absolutely right. On the day of reckoning, when time to vote, we will see just
6 o'clock.
talking what the come from the people are.
6 p.m., my brother.
And the
I'm waiting for
country.
it.
I appreciate your call.
God spend my
Thank
life.
you.
I'll be there, that's for sure.
Hard copy. How you doing?
Afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Afternoon, Mr. McKinney, and good afternoon to your guest.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
I listened to the conversation. I heard the clip on the radio about the Prime Minister and his speech. Here's my thing. Why do we always have to play politics with the Bahamian people? We've been asking where the money went, the VAT money, how the VAT money was spent for quite some time. And now
weeks before the general election, the Prime Minister find it, I guess I should say,
That has nothing to do with it.
Convenient.
convenient to now come on the radio or now come in politics, parliament, say where the money went. And I just find that to be like dishonest in a way. Like, I understand you're trying to win a general election, but why we have to wait? Why everything always have to be, the last few days to the general election before we start to do things? That's my little 5 cents. I'll just hang up and listen.
I appreciate your call. Hard copy. How you doing?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McKinney?
Yes, sir.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm all as well.
Okay, and good evening to your guest.
Good evening.
To you.
Mr. Miller, a little earlier in your show, questioned a young man that was talking about missing monies from the different government departments and asking him to produce his proof. I know that young man probably doesn't have the proof, but wasn't it the Auditor General that put this stuff out there?
Yes, it was.
I thought Mr. Miller asked the Auditor General to produce his findings.
I got your point. I appreciate it. Yeah. Miller, he says that the Auditor General, well, we know the story. The Auditor General said
I don't know the Auditor General
what he
came, but I
said.
know there was an argument between, or some different viewpoints between he and some of the senior ministers in the government. You hear so much garbage in this country today, honest to God. I try not to pay it. Like this thing on Facebook and thing. I don't get involved in foolishness. See,
Well, Facebook
everybody
and
try to
social
accuse
media, that's
everybody.
one other
That's
thing.
fine, but
that has nothing to do with us.
But people try to cast innuendos on people with no proof, and I just don't have time for it. If you got proof that somebody did something, go ahead and make a report with your proof, man. I don't have that kind of time in my
I
life.
hear you. Okay, I appreciate it. Hard copy, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been listening to the conversation this evening.
Yes.
All I can say is that I'm saddened. I think the FNM as well as the PLP have done the Bahamian people a disservice, where we just don't trust them. The PM may have said everything correct and true, because the Bahamian people have this perception of him that he's not being honest. They're not taking his word for it. In fact, like the lady said, they're just hanging up. But it's not only the PLP, they have a distrust for the FNM as well. And it's because of what was said earlier with all of the back dealings and the underhanded things that people know of, they hear of, post-government. So, that's all I wanted to chime in this evening to say. People just do not trust what's being said.
Understood.
It's truth. It's like the little boy who cried wolf. You fooled me a couple of times. I'm not even going to listen to you when you're coming to me with the truth.
I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly. Final call for the nobody's there on that particular call. Thank you so much. That person probably hung up. They see the time is already 7:39. We've got to get out of here. But gentlemen, very quickly, Miller, you strong in Tall Pines, right?
No problems at all. I expect them in by at least 1,000.
One of the things that you must be careful of, though, is that this categorizing of people is not an advantageous thing, not even for Leslie Miller. Let me just tell you, because you see what has happened here. The people hear you, they get to trust you, they get to hear you. You come and you report and you do your part. Your colleagues cannot say the same. They don't bother. But the good thing is that you've come and you've given an account for yourself, and you've tried to assist where you could. You've been very frank, and people kind of like that. And so I'm saying to you, though, when you get to the point where people are categorized and says all of these, we can dismiss them because one or two people believe that, or you believe that one or a couple of these people or most of these people are the negative naysayers all the time, and that's it. The guy who called and said that I'm always negative, he don't know what he's talking about. He's talking rubbish, because we are fair and balanced, and we give points where points are. We knock them where they're to be knocked. So the majority of people who listen to this show, and that's a lot of intelligent Bahamians, they can judge for themselves. They can tell you that the fellow just don't know what he said. He wanted to attack, and that's fine. And I gave him an opportunity to do that. So that's no problem. The other thing is that when you're doing this, it's a tough job. It is not an easy thing to basically, present what is being said in the parliament on talk radio, because it's a two-way conversation. This is not parliament where you get to stand up and you just tell them blah, 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 blah. No, there's people can talk and they have something to say too. And I just wanted to say that to you because I like Leslie Miller and I think that he's been doing a very good job, and I think that we ought to be fair with him even in this situation where they're going into the election. George Capron, you told me that you had something to say about a number of things that are happening out there in Lizzie. I mean, not Lizzie, in Yamakro. What's the situation looking like? You've been on the campaign trail.
Well, anything I tell you, it could be used against me.
Oh.
When I say that, because I'm partisan in that I have two candidates, one in either party, either party.
Yeah, you tell me.
One, and I have been out with, is Ellsworth Johnson.
Okay. So Oscar Johnson's son.
That's right. My dear departed friend. And I found him to be a decent man. He's grown into a hell of a good man. And so based on that and based on my association with his father, whom I supported, I expect him to win. And Brave Davis in the other party, who also is a good man as far as I'm concerned, and I quite frankly don't care what anybody else has to say about him or Ellsworth. That is my view, and I will go out and support them to the fullest. But as far as any political party is concerned,
no,
scrap it.
That's I got you. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up here because we're running late. Leslie, you wanted to say something before we go?
Oh, Steve, I just want to say I'm happy now that the dump fire is not affecting the residents of Jubilee as it was before. The fire is just about totally out now. The planes are not flying anymore, and they're just getting things together now to finish it. I have
These are planes that were taken, put in the dump.
Yes, sir. I have requested that the government ask the mortgage corporation to forgive those residents' loan for the month of March. Those who have mortgages with the mortgage corporation, the government is looking at it. I hope that it comes out positive, that they can get some relief from it. I want to apologize on behalf of, I guess, the government of the Bahamas and those who lit the fire that caused us so much harm for 3 solid weeks, 21 days plus. I'm really saddened by that, but I want to thank my team for doing a magnificent job in assisting those persons in that area in that time of need, and they were very appreciative. And I look forward to working with them very closely over the weekend and in the coming weeks. And I want to caution all of my colleagues who are in the political arena to, let's not go there and cast aspersions on each other. Let's try to do the best that we can. I noticed you got angry when one article I saw it, in fact, Monday, that appeared in the newspapers. I don't know where they got it from. There's Iwan Ingram and some other people was there in it. I don't know. I don't even know the gist of it. But I hope that those things would cease and desist, that we would take the high road and let the people decide on which type of member of parliament they would wish to represent their views in our country and who they felt did a job that is worthy of them being returned to parliament. And let's be sensible in this. I don't like this mudslinging garbage. It irritates me from both parties, the PLP as well as the
that's what that was all about.
And I hope that would discontinue forthwith, and that we'll go to election and with God's guidance and come out as the decent people that we are. That's my wish.
By the way, I was depicted as being a member, not a member of parliament, but a candidate in that play with that newspaper publication. But that was something that came from the PLP's website, I think, and the Tribune was saying that this is a silly season, and the article was just depicting that. Look at what this.
I don't believe that came from the PLP site either. I think what happened, someone
probably a private site
that in there to cause problem and cast aspersions on the PLP that normally takes place. You got some devious people in this country.
Okay.
Well, I might say that I'm quite shocked, really, to see that Christie has taken scumgullions from the FNM and embraced them.
Well, he
to
better
his
watch
bosom.
out. He better watch out because these guys may be plans.
Listen,
they may not be as genuine as he thinks. They may be plans, and Christie had better watch out because how can somebody go and say, look at these people, they're all house slaves of something, I think, with Bahama, house slaves, and put my picture there. I mean, I'm a fellow who had talked about Bahama from the beginning and revealed all kinds of things, so I don't know what that was, but it was also with an FNM tagged at the bottom of it. And so all of these things, I say, well, my goodness, who could do such a foolish thing? And it seemed to be Ivan Ingram because his picture was in the inset of this publication that was online.
Well, I'm truly amazed to see so many scumgullions that have been imported out of the FNM
into the BLP
and embraced, and come unto my bosom.
And we shall pay you. You've gotten some jobs and all, and you are now
absolutely
out front with protocol and all this kind of stuff. And
my God, it's ridiculous.
And Christie may not realize it, but here's a fellow who can't be trusted.
Not if there was only one, but there's so many.
Yeah, well, that's
and
just the way it is. That's good advice.
Overnight,
I believe Christie has turned his page, though. I believe Christie has decided to move from this mudslinging and all this foolishness to talking about the issues. See, today is indicative of him going to the parliament and say, look, let me just deal with this matter. And that's what he did. And I give him credit for it. You see, I give him credit for that. It's late in the game, but at least he did it. And he kept his word that he was going to do it. And that is important to me. And so I give him credit. So this thing about running on with these other wannabe politicians who have hurt feelings and saying things about people, Christie needs to stay away from that because that is not the Christie that we know. And I said it here on the record, that's not Christie's character. Somehow he got sucked into it, and now I believe he's trying to run away from it and get back on track. And that's a good thing.
Well, I don't know. All I can tell you is what I see, and it doesn't look good.
Have a good evening, Damien.
Thank you so much. Let's go home, Stevie. We've been brought to you today by Water and Sewage Corporation, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches, Mount Tabor Inspiration, Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, Hadji's Your Everything Store, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, Rocky Farms Nursery for Easter, Cool Tech, Bahamian Brewery, Plain Insurance, Super Wash, Bank of the Bahamas, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Advantage Insurance and Broker, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors, Clareton Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group for the best results and advertisements right here on Peace, and Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Lake Road. Tomorrow we come back, and I suppose we're going to have another interesting one for you, but it has to happen somewhere around about 5 o'clock. Remember now, if it's 5 o'clock, it is Hard Copy. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Good night from Hard Copy.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.